Our protagonist this time is very different. Usually in these kinds of stories, you've got a guy doing his best to grind, acquire everything and level you. But Jihad isn't like that. He awakened with such simple talents that all he can really do is run a quiet bookstore. And for him, that's enough. He loves reading and enjoys living a peaceful life. What Jihad doesn't expect, though, is that he actually the single person chosen to become a god in this world, a being so powerful that even legendary creatures from his books would end up as his pets. While everyone else is out there leveling up like crazy, they have no idea that Jihad is quietly saving the world, sometimes without even trying. But here's the question. How can a boy who only wanted a tranquil life keep his chill when so much power has been forced upon him? Most people would give in to temptation. And will this happen to Jihi? That's what we are here to discover. Let's get it in a day not unlike any other. The peace everyone thought would last forever was shattered with the appearance of the dungeons. Everyone was terrified when the goblin testosterone appeared in the middle of the city. Hundreds of creatures emerged, bringing fear. However, just as despair, 5 hope appeared. People awaken as entities called hunters, and the new materials that fell from the monsters made humanity prosper, and that's how the world of hunters began. But our protagonist is different from everyone else. We see him at the Hunters Association, and the girl at the reception says it's the first time she's seen someone with a worker class. The guy was born to be a slave in this world. Everyone only. His combat classes, he's the first to have something that's not useful for combat. She asks you don't have any skills or talents. He's somewhat embarrassed, replies that he doesn't. We then see a shot for hunters in Sector 7. Our protagonist Opu Hunt is receiving customers. They say they came to get some potions, but the girl points at him right away and says, "Wait, aren't you that guy with the worker class?" You awkwardly says yes. She then asks, "Is it true you don't have any skills?" The guy next to her reprimands her, saying, "Don't say that, stop." He looks at the protagonist and says sorry, she's a bit lost. The protagonist says it's okay, and that she didn't say anything wrong here. He doesn't have any special skills because of this, he doesn't hunt. He just stays in the background collecting resources. With that, the girl says she understands. And the guy says she shouldn't have asked. Some tanks passed by on the street, and everyone knew it must be at least a rank 3 dungeon that appeared. The guy says, "Damn, I wish I could participate in one of those." She replies with our skills. Forget it. Not nearly enough. Our protagonist, observing, just thinks about how difficult something like that must be. The people leave, and he says, "Arigato," he wonders. How much resource must be in a place like that? However, obviously he's never going there. It's been 5 years since he awakened. He'd received his worker class, but it has nothing. No skill, no special characteristic. That's why when he goes to the dungeons, he stays in the background. As soon as everyone kills everything, he goes in and picks up the leftovers. Does it pay well? No, but it's enough just for him to pay the bills for the month and keep this place open and do what he likes most, which is reading books. Whenever the shop is empty, he picks one up and reads. But that day he got sleepy. He thought maybe it was because the book was too difficult to understand, and boom, he fell on the table. But the book shined. Then he went inside. Our boy wakes up with a leaf falling on his face and gets up all startled. What is this? Wait, it's definitely not a dream. Is it an illusion? Can I open my status window? He opens it. Nothing special, but this forest looks a bit strange. I don't hear any animal sounds, and I can't see anything because of this dense fog. All I can see are those little sprouts there. Looks like a fruit. He approaches confused, saying, "I've never seen anything like this." Ether Herb makes the consumption of ether for any skills. For 10 seconds? Is this description real? If this were true, it would be a very good item, either. In this world is basically mana. It's the energy people use to cast skills. Oh, an item that allows you to basically have infinite energy for 10 seconds would be incredible. He keeps looking and thinking, if only he could get the liquid from these herbs. Too bad it didn't bring any bottles with me. Right in front of him there's a leaf on a branch that kind of catches his attention. He decides to take a closer look. Apparently it was in a lake. He got some water and poured on top. With that, out of nowhere, the skill appeared. You're a friend of plants. Level 1 Blessing of the Unknown. Jihad is confused. It's the first skill he has received in 5 years as a hunter, and all he did was water the plant, which suddenly started growing roots into the ground. He thought it was going to become gigantic, but it disappeared in front of him. With that, he woke up back in the shop out of nowhere, and thought it had all been a dream. The strange thing is, it was so realistic that he realizes his hand is covered in mud. So the dream was real. He wonders, could it be that when I'm sleepwalking, I slept here in the shop, and went out collecting mud? No way. Or did I somehow actually get transported to that hours when I fell asleep? Considering this is now the world of hunters, it wouldn't be impossible. He decides to test it again. He dozes off once more and wakes up in the forest again. However, he notices the place looks bigger, and all the fog is gone. He starts to think this might be a personal dungeon that only he can enter when he sleeps, and he had never heard of this kind of power. That Nisa Solar Apple, a fruit that when mixed with the healing potion, increases healing by 20% and reduces cooldown by 80%. Grananos potions are the most used items in dungeons. However, the ones available and most heal 10% of health and have a long cooldown. The taste is also terrible. Looking at the apples, he's astonished there aren't just one or two. There are a bunch of solar apples. He has an idea. What if he makes a potion using the solar apple and that curve that gives infinite energy for 10 seconds? He thinks taking one or two things from here is okay, right? But where will these store them? At that moment, a bag falls on his head out of nowhere. That dimensional bag. He doesn't suspect anything, just accepts it, since now he can carry things. Clearly, it seems someone is watching him. After that, he decides to return to the shop. The next day we see another shop. One of the more expensive ones for hunters. Everyone goes there to buy potions, but they're out of stock until someone looks behind and says, "Hey, that woman Hygiene, the sword witch." The shop owner comes over all fluster and says, "Hygiene, I didn't know you were coming." But she quickly responds, "I came because you haven't been answering me. The potion I asked for yesterday, where is it?" The guy, embarrassed, replies, "Ah, I'm sorry, but your potion is still being prepared. Could you wait a bit?" She says she can't. She has her major dungeon in 30 minutes. With that, she pulls out her phone to see if there's any shop nearby. Meanwhile, our boy is playing Heisenberg in production. He makes purified water, Undenied's tears, and the other. He says it's going to be insane. Now he just needs to add the solar concentration into the rotating tube. Downing the potion, the system unifies him due to the blessing of the unknown. A verdict of great success has been applied. You have acquired Alchemy Level 1 Special Potion. The duration of unlimited skill usage has increased from 10 seconds to 14 seconds. Additionally, it restores 14% of health over 15 seconds, far better than all the others. He's already stunned. Oh wait, and Alchemist. Not even the guys who call themselves alchemists have alchemist skills. He's never even heard of a 14-second healing potion. Shaking it, he realizes it's an excellent potion. However, he's not very capitalistic. He doesn't even know how much to charge. The product is so good that it's hard to sell. Not to mention, who's going to believe that other consumption drops to 0 for 14 seconds? Who, you ask? She's already entering the shop. "Hi, Jen." Our boy immediately asks, "How can I help you?" She gets straight to the point. "Potion. How many of you have? I want them now." Before he can respond, she gets closer. "This is a health potion, isn't it?" He says yes, but before he can say anything else, she asks what its effect is. He tries to explain that it's not for sale, but she cuts him off again. "Sorry, but I don't have time." She grabs it and leaves. Wow, what just happened? She left some money on his table saying, "If that's not enough, call my guy to Crest, they'll pay more, bye." The warrior has already arrived at the dungeon, drawn her swords, killed 3 beasts, and is already running. That's productivity. The guys who collect the items for her are a bit embarrassed. This is the power of a ranked 12. I can't even see what's happening. However, the one in white says, "But this way we won't evolve at all." The other guy says, "Friend, it's the sword, which even if you wanted to, you wouldn't evolve, just collect the resources and stay quiet." But then comes the drama, and the guy says, "I understand her too. If it were the old Hygiene, she would have definitely told us to hunt together, but since that incident, she's changed completely and hunts." Own, the other guy, asks what incident, and he responds, "Well, you probably don't know because you're a beginner." Right at that moment, Hygiene appears, telling them to run. They seem confused, but soon see it. A man's talker and a version level creature, extremely armored and with powerful poison. The Tor are already shocked. Why isn't a version level creature here? They only appear in level 4 dungeons. Hygiene continues. "I told you to run, get out of here." She charges at the beast, drawing her great sword, but the beast defends and strikes, leaving her trembling. Damn, I've already used all my other, at least I want time for them to escape. The 2 guys are also running at a snail's pace. She thinks, if only Sonya were here, but she's motivated. No, he's no longer here. Now I can only rely on myself. In this potion, she drinks it all and is confused. It's the first time she's had such a delicious potion, not to mention she feels her other is increasing significantly. Now she can win this. She goes back into the fight using the tumult of the sword, slashing and cutting relentlessly. The beast is divided and falls hard to the ground. However, she immediately notices, "Wait, something's wrong. My health is recovering, and I felt my father wasn't decreasing. I managed to use the sword tumult for 10 seconds straight. Normally I use it for a maximum of 3. Could it be because of that potion? Who is that guy from the shop? Ma'am?" She doesn't waste time. In the next second, she's opened the door and entered one. She asks that potion. What was that? Our boy's completely confused. The guys in the back are talking, and it looks like everyone knows she killed the man's stalker alone. She apologizes for being rude. Our boy says it's okay. But was there a problem with the potion he gave? She says yes, she's never seen a potion that heals 14% of health and reduces other cost. Our boy, being Mavage, says, "Ah, I heard you killed an aversion level creature alone." Incredible. She bangs on the table. "That's not the point. That potion you gave me, where did you get it? Or did you make it yourself?" He shows her the ale and says, "I use this." She asks this. Yes, a solar ale, I found by chance in a level 0 dungeon. She asks, a solar ale in a level 0 dungeon. As far as I know, this item isn't that common. Our boy obviously doesn't want to tell anyone he has the force of abundance. While I'm glad my potion helped you. Sade is trying to change the subject. She points to the side and asks what's that. He replies it's an ice resistance potion. She wants to know the effect. Awkwardly, he says, I think it gives the 32% ice resistance for 40 minutes. She's stunned again. The best potions on the market offer 10% resistance for a maximum of 15 minutes. This one is like 10 times better. So she wants to know where he found this. Our boy remembers that when he was in the garden world, he found some winter strawberries and used them to make the potion. His alchemy is already at level 2. He says again, yeah, I found it in the level 0 dungeon. She realizes right away that he's lying and says, I won't ask her anymore since it makes you uncomfortable, but sell everything to me. Everything he asks. She throws money on the table saying, I'll pay in cash. I don't even want a receipt. Our boy says it's too much money. She walks away saying it doesn't matter. However, she asked his name. Our boy says it's Jaha. She thinks and says it's a beautiful name, looking all sweet. She replies, see you next time, Jaha. The scene then shifts to our boy back in the forest. Each time he's returning with more stuff, however he starts to question this place. Is very strange, there are so many rare resources and no monsters at all. Where am I? He hears some movement nearby. Slowly he walks to see what it is. He says he's sure something was around here when he sees it. There's a beetle called a Terra drone, a mythical monster, a creature the size of a small car that resembles a beetle with giant claws. Our protagonist recognizes the creature instantly. However, strangely, they are very small here. They're supposed to be car-sized. He wants to pass, but there's some barrier protecting them. Then some evil ants appear, and the little creatures start fighting. Our boy watches and says, why are they killing each other? The problem is that these demon ants are extremely dangerous. But again, they are supposed to be the size of a truck, but they're small here. However, he sees the Tyrones being crushed, all crying. Our protagonist wonders why are they fighting, and at this rate they will lose. Can I help? The system then gives a notification. The war between your terror drones and the demon ants has begun. Do you want to help your legion? Yes or no? Our protagonist? Would I can intervene in this? Even stranger, it says my terror drones. Well, if that's the case, then yes, your legion is losing. You can use an essence buff to improve the chances of victory. Increase HP by 30% for 1 hour. Increase poison resistance, increased physical resistance, or the worker's blessing, which costs 2 essences. Our boy thinks he understands and says, I can't help directly, but I can provide assistance. Walking around, he had found these essences used for buffs, and he has just 2. Since the last option is more expensive, it's probably the best, so he applies the worker's blessing. The little creatures feel the energy flowing into them. Empowered, they start smashing all the ants. They quickly win, and our boy is delighted. Wow, this is crazy. He approaches the terror drones and thanks them for defending the forest. However, the cute creatures start giving him lots of essence. He gives a little smile, and the creature looks a bit confused. It only takes 5, saying they can keep the rest. This is more than enough for me. He says after all, they were the ones who fought for their lives without the wall, and the fog in the place disappeared. He thinks I was planning to stay here for just a bit today, but it looks like I won't be leaving anytime soon. The next chapter begins by talking about the Hunter's website and the various communities that were created when all this started. Currently, the Sword Witch hygiene is ranked 12, and we see some users discussing the possibility of her killing that creature alone, being alive until someone turns on the light and asks, are you a zombie girl? That's Chutian, the top alchemist of the Flame Guild. The redhead says she can concentrate better when it's dark, but asks if he managed to solve what she asked him to. He says he went in person. The guy is a hunter with the lowest rank of all, no special characteristics. Uchihe. And as expected, I didn't see anything strange about him. The redhead responds, then maybe he has nothing to do with hygiene getting stronger. Shukshane says, I don't know, he was selling something special. Do you know what solar apple is? She says no. He then explains that the solar apple is something no one knows about, but the boy does. It's an item that drastically reduces ether consumption, and I had never even seen one in person until I went there. And the strangest thing is he made a potion using it and was selling it for a cheap price. The redhead then comments, what if the apple is real? It's impossible for it to be cheap. He tries to explain that, with this there are only 2 options. First, he doesn't know the real value of a solar ale, or she completes. He's a person without any greed. She gets up and says, you know what? I need some fresh air. I'll go see him. The guy asks if she wants him to prepare a car. She says, what? I'm not the boss of the company. He says she is. However, she responds that he is in an esteemed position tramway and the master of the Eternal Guild. Back in the Forest of Abundance, Chief feels a bit chilly, but he brought a lighter, remembering that after the barrier fell, he didn't see anything much different. Of course, he still hasn't fully explored. There's an area that seems extremely dangerous. He can feel it, and for now he's not keen on putting himself in danger, so he decides to return. At that moment, the little beetles appear again, carrying some things confused. Says it's you guys again. What are you carrying? A chasing flower. Shiva asks, is this for me? The little beetles happily nod yes. He notices that one of them is a bit larger than the others, and is always at the front. He says you're different. Are you the leader? They don't really respond. Our boy asks, did you come from that scary place? At that moment, a mission appears. The Terror. Request your help to rescue their queen. Do you accept the mission to rescue the queen? So these seeds from the Miss Hunter flower are a common request. Jihad muses. Since you protected the forest, I'll see what I can do. I also fear that place, but I'll see what I can do. The little beetles are all cute. Eager. However, for this you will have to prepare a few things. So if they plan to do it tomorrow, the next day. He has made a healing potion, poison resistance potions, and a lot of food rations. Everyone is prepared. With everyone buffed up, he says, let's go rescue the queen. As he approaches, he sees it. The thing exuding the purple aura is the nest of the demonic ants. It's at least 3 meters high. No more delays. The battle is about to begin. The fight is intense. Wow. The protagonist is impressed. The Terror drone are winning more easily than last time, but the poison is still hurting them. The system then says he has the right to use a power once to help them. He can bring the flying demonic ants to the ground with one slap, but it will cost the 3 essences. Our boy is confused. One slap and I can only use it once. What am I supposed to do with that? Then he sees at the top of the nest and winged and appears. It's a messenger. The system warns him that if this ant gets away, it will bring back the main army. He looks at his hand and wonders, so I can stop her message for the slap. Let's see. He activates the ability, and just as the little ant is flying, she sees the massive hand coming. Man, it was a slap indeed. I thought it was some power, but it was the protagonist himself. The next chapter starts with Ryan visiting our boys. Shop in front, she thinks. This is the place that sells the solar apple. From the outside, it looks like any other shop, but who knows what secrets are hidden here, especially since she was informed that Hagen managed to hunt that creature after visiting this place. So I'll enter and find out if... But she notices it's closed, but the sign says it's open. She wonders if he went to the bathroom. She asks the laughing guy nearby, don't they open today? The guy responds, I'm not sure. They haven't opened since yesterday. Actually, the young man who runs this place seems to have something going on. She asks the guy why isn't he opening frequently. The guy responds that young people today aren't like they used to be. No professionalism, she thinks. Wait, is this change recent? It seems that this Yujaf is hiding something. Back with our boy. He's impressed with the slap. He gave the other answer sweating. Meanwhile, the beetles are now motivated. They charge forward as the ants flee crime. A little later, the beetles are celebrating at his feet. However, he asks, aren't you going to rescue your queen? When he looks, some little beetles are already bringing her on a stretcher. The queen warrior is all battered. She tries to get up to talk to Jarga. He tells her not to strain herself. You've done enough, you can rest. The system then says the queen of the Terror drones wants a former sworn alliance with you. If you accept, you will be sponsored by the Terror drums and receive various items. It also says that Jihad will have to fulfill their requests. Our boy says there's nothing to think about. Of course I'll accept. After all, they can help each other. The system then says you and the Terra drone are now allies. You can now sponsor them more directly. The little general from before then evolves into a Terra drone warrior. Our boy impressed says wow, now he really looks like a general. He calls the squad and they bring a bunch of stuff to him. Greyka, embarrassed, sees it again. He says he doesn't need all this. I'd be happy with just 10 essences and a little ether. He wonders what those... They gave him our wild grape seed and tree fruit seed, while her boy says he'll just plant them and wait to see what grows. He finds it strange that a tree grows a fruit. How's that possible? He thinks, well, whatever, the forest will take care of it. The plan now is to build a new cabin the next day in some other dungeon. The guys are talking. Are you sure, though? And Queen is here, homie. He responds, of course she is. We'll make a lot of money if we steal her nest. But another guy says, hey, wait a minute, what's that? The quest is already completed. Human says, what are you talking about, you fool? We just got here. When they look, the nest is empty. The guy in the back says, huh, did someone from another region clear it out? The knight says you don't know that once a dungeon is cleared, it doesn't open again like this. The guy thinks, damn, how did this happen to us? The guy at the front says to the other man, I don't know what happened, but it looks like there was an attack. I didn't see any answer at all when the guy said. The knight replied, that's impossible, man. Look around. There has to be some trace of them. Then one of them said, yum, take a look at the ground. Young asked, the ground, what will look at that handprint? They wondered. Who could have done this? One of the guys questioned, isn't this the shape of a palm? Is this the work of a giant? Another guy said, man, but at this size, it must be a creature of at least destruction level. One of them started running, shouting, let's get out of here. One of them told the group, do you think we have any chance against a creature that single-handedly wiped out the entire ant nest for male retreat? Now we'll die without even knowing. Happened. Let's get back to the association. We then see some guys in an office examining the protagonist palm mark. The important group successor, Kyung-suk, said this was at the ant nest, right? If anything else happens, let me know. The guy was just thinking, this palm isn't from an ordinary monster, and it's too big to be an evolution of some other species. It's some creature we don't know about. Could something above destruction? Income appeared, looking out the window. He thought, I just hope the terrible thing doesn't happen again. We didn't see our protagonists in Area 5 of the city. He was waiting there until a girl came running and shouting Jiked. She looked like a sister version. Could this be the case though? She fell to the ground like a klutz. Sum up saying it's all okay. The book is safe, he says. That's not what I'm worried about. This crazy-headed girl is Sunio, the only origami hunter in Korea. She says it's been a while since I left the house. I forgot how to walk. Clearly she's a book addict, and that's how she and the protagonist became best friends. He hands her the package saying, have you had breakfast? Jumiya asked me to give this to you. She thanks him and gives in a little book. Our boy asks why. She says she went to a bookstore, and the seller was sad, saying everyone who took this book always returned it, so she bought it and brought it to him. Our protagonist says a book that everyone returns is kind of scary, isn't it? When he looks at it, he already sees it has mana and aura there. And the system gives a notification. You have acquired the infinite spell book. To write a spell in this book, you need the feather of the Thunderbird, and Ink our boy asks, are you sure the guy didn't want this book? She says yes, there's nothing written in it, and he only used it as decoration. She tried to write something, but it didn't work. The protagonist thinks a book with nothing written in it must have something to do with this notification just now, and she probably didn't get the notification since she's giving it to him like this. She says sorry if you don't want it. He says no, I like it. I'll keep it. I'll use it wisely. Back at the shop, he tries to rig the pencil, but it doesn't work. He knows he'll need that Thunderbird feather. The system gives information. Thunderbird, a colossal and extremely rare creature with a wingspan of 25 meters. Our boy thinks, I'll have to get that. Not to mention it's rare. How is he going to locate such a thing? He thinks, I'll be another person who uses this as decoration. However, when he touches the book, he receives the good penmanship trait and an ancient magic skill. He stares at his own hand thinking what out of nowhere again. But he didn't feel any different. But getting this skill now isn't a coincidence. He grabs a piece of paper that was nearby and manages to write about the bird. He even levels up his penmanship skill. However, even with that you can't write in the book, but he wrote there 25-meter. Bird. Giant bird. Very difficult to capture. The big feature of this skill is that his handwriting got a lot prettier, at least. But then he feels something happening nearby. He runs outside. A gate opens in front of the shop. Difficulty 0. Target Thunderbird feather. Time limit 1 hour. He thinks, wait, what? It goes straight to the bird's nest. Could this be an effect? The good penmanship skill. The aura seems dangerous, but it's ranked 0, so it shouldn't be a problem, right? Well, let's go. He enters and immediately sees a waterfall. Thinking it really did let him in, she asks, is this the habitat of the tree? It doesn't seem like it can accommodate a giant bird. But then the bird appears. It flaps its wings above him, and he goes flying. Jihad exclaims, how am I supposed to hunt? That it's as big as a house. However, some feathers start falling. The bird flies away, seemingly saying, use your junk. Well, he wonders, wait, it's leaving. He picks up a feather, already acquiring the Thunderbird feather. He thinks how could this be so easy with the feathers now in hand? He just needs the ink. He smiles, already having an idea. He calls the terror drones to bring some green. Extract, he thinks, his little friends, and thinks that now the preparations are complete, he's ready to solve the mystery of the infinite spellbook. Standing there ready to write, he thinks, I wonder what kind of magic is in this book. Well, I'll find out for myself. He touches the feather to the book, and a lot of magical stuff starts happening. He begins floating, and the magic spreads throughout the forest. When he gets up, he recognizes it. Immediately, he thinks these are runic words, something he had seen in a book a long time ago. The legend of an ancient tree that taught a tribe 4 types of magic: creation, harmony, change, and destruction. However, it was extremely difficult to control these magical powers until they discovered the runic words on an expedition. Upon researching, he understands. So the ancient tree of the world. About that, tried the 4 main magical powers. The comprehension was very difficult, so they were divided into runic words. However, he had never heard of these runic words in his life. He wonders if maybe there's some way to use them with this book. Staring at the tree, he sees that ruins appear on the pages when he used this book. He questions why they were engraved on the tree and not in the book. He remembers that this is the tree he watered when he first arrived here. But he's sure it's impossible that the small tree is the world tree. He thinks to himself, I don't know when these ruins will disappear, so it's better to write them down. But will something happen just by putting these symbols in the book? She had to feel something strange. Even though it's the first time he's seen these ruins, he kind of understands their meaning. And when is engraved on the tree says destruction, the fire will set everything ablaze. The kid is a bit crazy. As he reads this and writes it in the book, the system then says scroll to change destruction increases the destructive power of a magical run. He's overjoyed. Wow. So if I write the runs they turn into scrolls use, well if that's the case, just tear it out, right? He cuts it, and it turns into a scroll. He says he's going to write about 99 more of these, and he realizes the page he tore out is regenerated. That's why it's called an infinite spellbook. Staring at the book, he knows he can write as much as he wants. All he needs is ink, which isn't even that hard to get. The only problem is he doesn't know exactly how the scroll works. Increase the destruction and power of a magical room is all it says. Since he doesn't have any magic, he can't test it. They'll need to manage to make it work. Oh, Leprous already in the shop. Come here, he's sly one. I'm going to use you for the scroll. She asked our boy, are you a hunter, Graya? He replies that he is. She runs up to him, finally meet. Jihad is startled as she shouts in his face. You're hard to find, aren't you? Do you know how many times I've come to the shop just to find you? Our protagonist thinks this one is tough. He apologizes, saying it's due to personal circumstances. Have had to close frequently. Looking him in the eye, she thinks just as true unsaid. He doesn't seem special at all. Our boy wonders why does she staring at me so coldly, but she thinks of herself whatever my purpose here is in him. But the items he sells, she apologizes and says she understands his circumstances. But anyway, sorry for the late introduction, but she is the leader of the Eternal Flame. Build way in, and she heard he sells special items in his shop. He agrees and she starts to say something, but he interrupts. You're talking about the solar apple? Argue or are you looking for a winter strawberry? She says that's right, but he continues. Those items are the most famous here in the shop these days. Wait a moment, since you've come here several times without success, I'll give you some things. She thinks, is she really that easy to get things from? She's very confused, but our boy says, hey customer, we're out of stock. She asks, what do you mean? Our boy remembers that he got so focused on playing with the terror drones and writing runs in the book that he forgot to make potions. So he tells her, if you come back tomorrow, I'll prepare them for you. Sorry again. She thinks to herself. Yeah, I can't even say anything. Clearly he's sad. Is he kind or stupid or both? She turns to leave, saying, well, nothing to do then, since you have nothing to sell. Sadly, she was away thinking to herself, I'll come back tomorrow. I just wanted to go to the dungeon. But then our boy says, wait a moment. You said you're the leader of the Eternal Flame Guild, right? Are you the fire mage? Yes. Why she got hands are the scroll, and says, ah great, then test this out. I'm sure it'll make an explosive meteor bomb. She looks at it and asks, what's this? A scroll? The protagonist responds, yes, it's a fire scroll I made yesterday for testing. I'm giving it to you so I don't feel bad for letting you leave empty-handed. She says, since it's from you, I won't refuse. She activates it, and the shop explodes with a fiery message. The flames will set everything ablaze. She says she likes that phrase, and we'll see him tomorrow. He replies, ah, okay my customer, see you soon. But you notice this something. The staff on her back is glowing much more than when she entered. We then see her in the spider dungeon. They've just defeated the central spider, are marching forward. Our redhead is throwing fireballs. However, she finds it strange. Her fire powers are much stronger. With one hit, the creatures fall dead. Not to mention the run on her staff won't stop glowing. But she gets a bit distracted and almost gets hit by a purple venom. She manages to dodge. The guy next to her asks, are you okay, leader? She says she's fine. She just finds it strange that there are many more spiders than expected. The guy apologizes again, saying that in forest dungeons there are many variables. But she wants they can go back and reorganize. She says no, forget it. We'll continue forward no matter what. But the cautious mate says it's better we go back. You don't need to push yourself so hard. But the warrior is on fire today. She says, don't worry, I feel like I can beat anything. She starts creating summoning circles. Watch out, here comes the fire on all the spiders. Everything begins to burn. The guys are impressed, saying what's going on. Leader, when did you level up so much you killed everyone by yourself? She's questioning herself. Wait, something strange. I've never had this much power. Could it be that scroll from that sly guy back at the protagonist shop? He's finished the production. Phew. This should be enough, right? He prepared a bunch of solar potions and some old resistance potions now just waiting for Quan, who said she would come in the morning. He looks back. Ah, welcome Waylon. I made the potions you asked for. But his thoughts he never says she's accompanied Quan. Says Hunter Uchiha, can we buy the potions later and have a little chat? Suddenly she throws down the suitcase full of money. Whoa, what's this weigh in? She responds. What do you think it is? Money. Are you a type who doesn't care about money? Now I understand why you sell these potions at such a low price. He says that's not the case. Everyone likes money. Like he feels awkward about her giving so much money. She explains it's because of the scroll he gave her yesterday. It has an extremely strong effect. It's definitely something above Scrade. She says the scroll is so powerful it's almost theft for her to take it without paying. And besides, if she didn't give something in return, she wouldn't feel right. He says he understands, but in his thoughts he's impressed. As he expected. The infinite spellbook is really amazing. She says if he doesn't want cash, he can just give his bank account details. But our protagonist is very kind and courteous. He says he's very grateful but doesn't have the right to accept the money. She asks, what do you mean? He says, as I told you, the scroll was an apology for making you wait. I'm not honorable enough to take all this money, he thinks. Whatever, I just wanted to give her the scroll as a test. She says, Jihad, don't you know in an instant a good person can become a fool? What do you think happens if a chicken gives golden eggs to everyone for free? What will happen to those people? Our boy responds, everyone will get rich. Wayne replies, of course not. Once this spreads to the public, the chicken will become everyone's target. That's why your ability is amazing but extremely dangerous right now. You understand, the protagonist replies. I understand, Waylon says. Good. If you understand, I want to make you an offer, Jihad. You want to join the Eternal Flame Guild out of the blue? Yes. She says, I know my introduction was a bit negative when I first came here, but it was only because I was worried about you. Our guild is extremely ethical and never harms people, and the reason I brought them money was to prove that we can reward you for your abilities, she says. But the Eternal Flame is already a very well-known guild. You didn't need to do all this to prove yourself. She says she wanted to show that such a famous guild really likes him. Besides, we have many mages in our guild. They also have many alchemists. 2. Human. The chief alchemist speaks up in a distorted voice. I love Eternal Flame. Juan continues, mentioning their numerous production facilities. You would have the opportunity to conduct extensive research. Your salary and benefits would be as high as you desire. You didn't have the authority of a chief or higher jihad. Probably. Torn listens as she continues. Join our guild. Jika interrupts. I appreciate all your kindness. Wayne initially celebrating, then realizes something. Wait, you only accept kindness? You don't want to join? But why? Our terms are so generous. He explains. As I said, it's a bit too much for me. I'm sure there are people more qualified than me to join the guild. Quan insists. Please, you're more than capable, the guy behind her says. All right, leader, let's calm down, she responds. No, he's belittling himself too much. He can't be like this, Jihad explains. Originally, I was a hunter with the lowest rank without any attributes. The reason I can make these special items isn't due to my abilities, it's because of luck, and my friends like the Beatles, and my friend who gave him the book. Everything that happened to me was because of fortune and my friends. My abilities might disappear one day. That's why I don't have the confidence to accept this offer. I don't know how long I can keep doing this. Besides, I'm very attached to this place to leave just like that. She was confused, but the guy behind her speaks. Leader. It seems changing his mind won't be easy. Let's respect his wishes. She remains puzzled. She says, of course, thanks to your advice, I will be more careful. I will start charging a little more for the potions. She quickly responds, don't tell anyone it was me who made you charge more. She sighs. Well, I don't like this. It feels like being rejected in a relationship, but I have no choice. If you ever need help or get into any danger, just call me. Grau reassures her. It's okay if any danger approaches this guy. You will alert me. He points to a small bell plant, which makes a sound when danger is near. The story then transitions to the postgate world, illustrating how difficult it is to live in nature. Seas, beaches, forests, and mountains are overrun by monsters, but the Forest of Dream is a place Jihad can enjoy. This is truly calming. The sea is the best place for a headache, he says, marveling at the environment. I felt my dream would only have forests, but there's you may see here. This place feels like paradise on earth. The plan was to spend more time in the shop than the forest, but this morning has exhausted him. Clearly I'm not the best shopkeeper. Whatever, I'll take some time to recover, eat a lot, and read a lot of books. I'm tired of all of this, he reflects, spending some alone time the forest reading until he falls asleep. Little does he know, unexpected visitors are on their way. 2 hours earlier, Gio was reading happily, thinking it was peaceful. Hearing the sound of the sea is extremely rare nowadays, because the coasts are overrun by monsters. Being in a cave like this feels like a blessing. He thought it would be nice to bring his friends here when he heard something next to him, a cat's meow. He went to check without fear. The danger plant didn't make any noise, so it must be safe. He noticed a beetle flying in that direction. She thought, why is it going there? When he arrived, he found Actos, a creature too big to be a cat, but not large enough to be a tiger. Clearly, who was injured. Gio wondered if he should offer help. The Terra drone came up and tapped his shoulder. He turned to see, and the Terra drones brought some fish. These beetles work at lightning speed, he thought, happy with their help. He petted the creature, feeling content in the present. Actos had eaten the fish and take a potion, finally stopping trembling. She was curious, wondering. I didn't expect animals in this forest. Where did you come from? He asked the cat, who meowed in response. He apologized for waking it and continued petting it. He thought about a name since Actos didn't fit. Since it resembled a tiger, he decided to call it Beam, which means tiger in Korean. She just said if you don't have a place to go, come with me. He wondered, can I take it to the shop? When Wayne arrived at the shop, she was startled. What's that? He said this is BM. Wayne exclaimed, no, it's a tiger. Our boy is confused. I didn't imagine she would be scared. Hygiene brings the coffee, and our boy says you're giving this to me for free. But at that moment, he had already stepped back because the kitten was approaching. Our protagonist apologizes. He's going to live here with me from now on. I didn't think you would be afraid. However, he notices that Beam is standing still, smiling. He wants you to pet him. Hygiene approaches awkwardly and pets him, thinking he's soft and fluffy. It seems like he's only a tiger and mane. She says, Hygiene continues. I heard you gave away some scrolls. Free. Everyone on the internet is talking about it, he replies. Oh right, it was for the leader of the Eternal Flame Guild. Jung thinks he gave away scrolls worth more than 100 million for free. That he have no ambition. Or does he just stubborn? It's clear he has been living like this for a long time now, calculating things too much without greed. He tries to make others feel comfortable. That's why I always want to come back to the shop. Beam is there, biting at G's clothes. At that moment, the danger plant suddenly starts shaking. He thinks what suddenly could it be? A city-wide alert comes level 4 catastrophe warning. All residents in the vicinity must evacuate immediately. Hydrogen turns to him, saying they need to evacuate urgently. Outside tanks have arrived, ordering everyone to evacuate. Our boy is there with his white cat in the crowd. The level 4 catastrophe is very dangerous. She knows they will need many strong hunters. He just hopes they can handle it. Sometime later, they arrive at the bunker. The gram has already shaken. Everyone there is crying. She thinks to himself, is it too early to feel safe? He pets BM, who is also scared. I hope it's nothing. Thinks above. The catastrophe is ongoing. This happens when hunters enter a dungeon and fail. When a mission fails in a lower level dungeon, it's not very difficult, but it's a completely different story when a level 4 or higher dungeon fails. The government has a plan to evacuate all civilians within a 20 kilometers area. Snipers are positioned everywhere, calling all hunters to be ready. Man, this is the first functioning government I've seen. Gryo thinks in front of everyone. Hijab announces the coming. The first things to appear are giant skeletons. The army is here. Missiles propose explosions. Look at that, the military is actually doing something. Himzio analyzing recognizes it must have been a dungeon with weak monsters, but with the amount of combat power they have it. Shouldn't be too difficult. He tells the army to shoot only those coming out of the gate while they focus on the ones escaping. Unless there's another variable, we'll win. Then a giant hand appears. He recognizes it immediately. A monstrous level creature. He changes the plan instantly. Focus everyone on that giant beast. Missiles, bombs, bullets. The torpedo hits its mouth and explodes. Still intact, the creature glares at everyone. Dangerous enemies must be killed. It charges forward. Himzo yells for everyone to dodge. Fred, you better dodge, you're about to get crushed and massive bait. The creature passes over them, heading towards the shelter, but Hygiene jumps in the way. Who allowed you to go to the shelter using her sword? Tumult. Will it work? She wonders. Hlan is also there. She has the scroll. She blasts it with a laser, but the creature doesn't even turn around. It keeps moving straight. It punches her in the gut. Man, you're in trouble. Weigh in, the crazy maid shouts. Don't chase it. If you don't defend, who will save the people? The creature faces Jihad and says, I found you. Our enemy, Guga thinks, wait, the barrier was broken so easily. This means they're not winning. Sighed, but his legs are paralyzed. He tries to move, but he can't. When he finally does, the creature is about to grab him, but Beam tugs him back and unleashes an ice barrage. Standing in front of Jihad, staring down the creature. The creature trembles. What are you scared? In its mind, the creature hears BB him saying, you are an inferior beast. Leave now, seeing from behind Hygiene and... Way unrealized has stopped. We need to take this chance. Fires a massive shot of fire enveloping her sword and flames slicing through the beast. The creature is now charred. She falls to the ground exhausted. Hao Yan asks, is it over? Hygiene replies no, I feel a massive amount of ether inside the kitten, now all cute in Geo's arms. Sometime later, ambulances are taken away. Injured, Hygiene feels the concentration of ether has disappeared. Looking at Beyond, she thinks, did that come from him? Our boy is now at home after taking a bath, thinking about the crazy day, petting Beyond. He thinks he seems so terrifying at that moment, but now he's so calm. The protagonist keeps thinking about the creature and decides to write about it. Just have it recorded. Monstrous creature, 15 meters. Call ugly as hell, and very strong. There's a website that records all monsters, but no one knows how Kato manages to register new ones. However, strangely, when our boy wrote in the book, it also got added to the wiki. Young Suk is confused. What? How are these entries being updated? But our boy is just calmly recording everything. The scene then shifts to a hunter's meeting. They are discussing the monster. and especially the fact that they think it wasn't one of their hunters who killed it. Nobody knows why the creature got stuck after breaking the wall. Couldn't have been one of the humans inside, they wonder. But that doesn't make sense. How could a human have so much power? Young says, "Did you see that the wiki was updated? For the first time in a long while, something is coming among us. Or something powerful enough to scare even that creature." Hygiene speculates either the person who scared it was inside, or it's a hunter with an ability we don't know about yet. Juan explains that several people present reported hearing a cat scream when the creature froze. Hyungzik dismisses it. "It doesn't matter, that's not important," Wei-in responds. "Maybe, but inside was the potion shop owner, with his snow leopard, and since the creature froze, the three of them, into our protagonist shop. He creates them. Hi, how are you?" They barged in without a word, all three of them slamming the table. "Where's the cat? We want to see it beyond. We'll get scared with you acting so desperate." Graya says. Biam, who is nearby, jumps on the table and stretches. The three of them look at him all confused. William picks him up and asks, "Hey, is this the cat that caused that ether wave? He looks like a normal cat." Gimi warns her it's better not to hold him like that. But she doesn't care, and grabs him, saying she doesn't feel any other coming from him. Impossible for him to have so much other to cause such an explosion without it being detectable. BM bites her arm. Cheyenne says, "I warned you. You need to be careful with him." Hidden adds. "I heard you were in the shelter when the explosion happened." Many people said they heard a cat sound before the creature froze. Our protagonist responds, "Crazy, isn't it?" Young suggests his glasses. "I think they're just false rumors." Poor Young's sick, looking at Win and thinking, "I wanted to recruit this guy for our guild, but it's not the right time." Little does he know she's already been rejected. As they leave, Quan says, "Aren't you going to ask to join the guild? I wanted to see you get rejected." Meanwhile, Hyjin gives him a little smile. "Trying to seduce our boy, huh?" She says, "I'll be back," he replies, "anytime." But our boy isn't interested in that. Sometime later, he's relaxing the forest, reading a book about the continent of Gehenna, a place where various species live together with the Great Tree. The Great Tree created creatures considered the gods of nature to protect Gehenna. One of the descriptions mentioned a creature that looked like a cat, with white fur and black spots. Staring at BM, Jeff thinks, "Wait, is he a god of nature?" But this cat is so small he doesn't seem like a god. However, considering how he stopped that creature, it might make sense. It's not a coincidence, as they said there was an ether explosion. Greika continues thinking it was probably be him who did that. Does this prove he's a god of nature? Maybe then the tree in my dream really is. Everything starts to make sense. It's as if the tree is giving him a task. Everything began when he received the worker class. Helping the terror drones to saving beyond all seemed to be part of a bigger plan. At that moment, the book next to him glows, and the most unusual thing is that in the class it's written Worker of X Purtu. What does this mean? Suddenly it's like a hashbang from CS blinding him. In the next chapter, we see a girl in an isolated room watching TV. A news report is talking about bombing somewhere. Back to the protagonist. He's staring at the tree, saying, "It was you, wasn't it? Who brought me to this forest of dreams? I have no idea why you gave me such an important task, but there must be a reason, so I'll do my best to help you at that moment." Purple tornado appears beside him, and something begins to form. Heaters. A voice saying, "Curse everything that breathes, bring death to all living beings." A skeleton appears. No, not just one whole horde of skeletons emerges in his forest. He recognizes the creature as an ancient lich, a creature of terror level. Oh my god, look at the size. This is a disaster. He thinks it's almost cute. Being so small, the lich commands kneel before the master. The system then notifies him. The ancient lich is corrupting the nearby lands and will soon reach yours. Although an immediate counterattack is difficult, you want to try to reduce its influence. Our boy obviously agrees. Below, the lich is calling everyone. What's bizarre now is imagining if this cat is the size of a normal one. If the lich, it should be much bigger, is tiny. How big is this cat really? The lich is marching with his minions. Our boy just wants to give a slap. If that's not an option, he remembers that liches don't die unless you destroy their life source, and the system gives him that exact mission. Plus, you will also need to purify the nearby lands that the lich has corrupted. Far away, he sees a little castle and recognizes it. He's seen it. Somewhere before, it's the banner of the Kingdom of Estrin. Could these skeletons, the liches controlling me, the people from there? He decides not to dwell on it. The important thing now is to reclaim this place. And since he can't intervene directly, he will have to use the army he calls the terror drones. The problem is that the only one who can fly is his warrior. Everyone else is stuck because there's a big rock in the way. Our boy has two options. You can either spend an essence to remove the rock or let the terror drones handle it. Since he's in a hurry, he spends the essence. Tell them to go one-on-one. Jihad says, the duel begins and our boy watches the battle. Now that they're strengthened, they really look like a troop. The ledge tries to send more soldiers, but it's not working. He raises his staff to cast a spell. A spell was an area of effect, but just as he's about to strike the staff, on the ground activated, the Terra drone warrior arrives and stops him. Our boy sighs in relief. The blessing came at the perfect time. They snatch the staff from the Lich's hand and throw him to the ground. He's getting pulverized. There's only gravel left of him. But the Lich is confident. No matter, it's just an undead body. However, Gia realizes that he had already sent someone to find the Lich's life. Of course, but the Terra drone who found it isn't strong enough to destroy it because of this. Yeah, has to spend 5 essences to evolve him into a warrior to take advantage of the Lich being in pieces. He spends it. The creature begins to evolve, gaining armor and all. I thought he had evolved the one in the chest, but he evolved the big one, making it even stronger. The Lich reconstructing itself screams desperately to stop. But there's no time. The Terra drone headbutts. The chest is integrating the Lich. Our boy, all happy, celebrates. We won. The troop brings several little chests. It's funny because the chests are small in their hands, but probably gigantic in real life. She feels a bit embarrassed and thanks them. The little creatures are also embarrassed. The strongest Terra Jerome brings a chest, which when placed before him, returns to its real size. Our boy greedily opens it. Inside there's the Sword of the Estrum Rain. You make priority +5 to mentality and charisma of the Conqueror. Really, I'm just a worker. I don't have any attack stats. He thinks he would like to return it to the rifle owner, but looking at the destroyed castle he imagines the owner is long dead. So he stores it in his glitchy backpack, pulls out his little spade and begins fixing the soil of the region. He's dumping cursed dirt into a bucket to purify it, when one of the Terra drones suggests you write a scroll using the ink. Jihad replies, "There's no room, my friend, just that maroon appears on the tree." What a coincidence. Well, if that's the case, let's write it. Purification Ruin restores land to its original state. DM jumps on him and he plays with him, while the Terra drone uses the scroll and brings it to him. Scroll of Harmony cleanses any corrupted land, but suddenly all the Terra drones disappear. The scene shifts to a completely different place, where someone says this is our land death to all who destroy our peace. The people there cover their ears, wondering where the sound is coming from. Suddenly the star shines in the sky, and the Lich appears with his army announcing this land has now been given to us. However, another portal opens next to the Lich and out comes a gigantic figure. The Lich glares. Cursed race of the tree. The Terradrome smashes most of them. The Lich tries to retaliate with magic, but now that he's evolved, he's much more resilient. The Lich stands no chance and is easily pulverized. The scene returns to Jihad's shop when someone rushes in, grabs the remote and turns on the TV shouting. Watch the News shows a report on the battle against the Lich. The land that was purple and cursed is suddenly purified. Officials say this means the Lich has been eliminated. Geo wonders what's happening on TV. He sees the Terror drone flying in the sky. Everyone is confused about how such a disaster disappeared so suddenly. Jihad back at the shop wonders why was the Terror drone. Young, sick at the company, recognizes it wasn't a destruction-level disaster. His colleague confirms yes, they were mythical monsters. Everyone is confused, not knowing what's happening. Girl returns to the world of the tree and speaks urgently to the Terra drone. Hey, you need to have a chat. The creatures are all embarrassed. He just says you didn't do anything wrong, so don't worry, but I want to know. The ones who used the scroll, and did you appear on Jury Island? The creatures don't respond and run off, bringing a bunch of rewards. Jenna asks, hey, are you trying to silence me with this? I just want to know if you appeared on Jerry Island. The creatures, all embarrassed, say nothing. She got pets them. I'm not scolding you, I just want to be sure it was you. But anyway, good job. They leave 10 others, and 10 instances. Shohads always thinks it's too much. Just that giant stone from the ancient lich is worth millions of dollars. Do you want to play with this? Jia hands it over. Alright then. The creature starts munching the whole stone. Zhongyan understands immediately. He's using it as an energy source beyond all happy. Well, what can you do? Creatures of the gods are incomprehensible now. Mia has 15 essences. It's time to boost his stats a bit. He advances to 9 and strengthen 8 in endurance. Well, our boy become a fighter. He wonders, am I stronger? Not sure. However, the reason for getting stronger is to make planting easier. He doesn't want to become obsessed with power. He's already content here. Back at the shop, Tyr receives an invitation to participate in a dungeon. It's different. Most things have already been cleared out. They call hunters to pick up whatever's left around the fountain. Everyone going to collect items has gathered. Strangely, there are a lot of people. A man named Mr. Wang, who approaches the protagonist, saying he's never seen such a large group for item collection. The dungeon must be huge. Who knows, we might find something really good. He pulls Jal along, who says, I think all the good stuff has already been taken, right? The man replies, of course not. Sometimes hunters are lazy and leave good things behind. At that moment, look who comes all graceful. The beautiful armored lady. She has eyes for someone else though. When she sees our boy, she comes right up to him. A year to collect items, he says yes, he received a call that they needed help. Around them, everyone is wondering who is that guy? Why did she talk to him? Meanwhile, Hagen is worried because it could be dangerous. Gracefully, she offers to protect him. She says if he stays by her side it will be much safer and easier. She is a bit confused as many guys start crowding around her. Hi Jen, come with me, come here, come there. But she says she doesn't want any of that, and looks at Jaya. Shall we go? He replies. Alright then, the two head. Inside, she explains that such large dungeons usually have very rare plants. Jihad says he's glad he can recognize good plants. Most people don't know what to pick. At that moment, something trembles inside his backpack, and when he opens, it blooms. They're sleeping. Hygiene sees him all cute, tries to pet him like it's right on the hand. Jihad explains he doesn't like being petted when he's being carried. She's a bit upset, but they continue walking. She then notices that the creature is growing a lot day by day. He must be eating very well, right? Jihai. Yes, that's right. Not going to mention, he eat $1 billion worth of stones. Walking through the forest, she asks if you saw the news about the mystical creature and the monster called Pterodrome, and also about the demonic ant nests with a giant handprint. Size of a house? Do you remember slapping it? That can't be it, right? But starts to wonder, is it really like that? Is the world inside the forest a miniature of the outside world? At that moment, Beam gets into an attack stance and Hygiene tells him to step back in front of them. Many trees and plants with big mouths start appearing. Shigot asks if Hagen is okay, but she says this is where the person she's looking for disappeared. It's the same scene, and then we learn the person who disappeared was Korea's rank 1. That means these creatures are at least rank 5. She drinks one of Gino's potions and says Jiha run out of the dungeon as soon as they attack. I'll try to hold them here. Do you have knows it's impossible for her to hold them all off? It's a bunch of extremely high-level monsters. But he notices that Beam is starting to exude an aura. Is he charging ahead? Alone. Strangely, the monsters are running away from him. BM grabs a hand, bites it, and tears off a piece. The plants are all running for their lives. Hygiene is utterly confused, not understanding what happened. BM returns calmly with something in his mouth. Choka says, "What's that? Do you want me to plan it?" B nods. Meanwhile, Hygiene is thinking about the great trap that killed the rank 1 fleeing. I've never seen anything like this. But Groya says they have another problem at the moment. In one direction of the forest, everything's purple. Hygiene tells Jadad that you should go back and She said she finally found a trace of him. She can't go back now. She could. Draws his position and says then we'll go together. Even if it's dangerous, she'll protect them, right? She says yes, but she's lying, right? In the end, Obi Beam, who protects them. Walking through the forest, she points to a cave and asks, do you see that all the light is coming from that place? Jihad agrees and they decide to enter. At the entrance, there are traces of blood and large handprints. Someone tried to escape but didn't fare well. At that moment, Hygiene recognizes the armor and sword of the rank 1 guy, but it's all shattered and bloodied. She hugs it, already in tears, thinking he's passed away. Grey K tries to comfort her, saying if he had really been killed here, his skeleton would be here. Probably. He dropped it and went somewhere else. Do you really think so? Yes. Just then, Beam brings a large green apple in his mouth. Actually, it's a symbiotic egg. He says he's heard about it, but isn't sure what it does. When they get out, we'll take a look. The BM gives him a little nip on the arm, wanting affection. Giga says that these are excellent signs and that the person is probably alive. She agrees that must be the case. Let's go back. They're quite optimistic, but if I found destroyed and bloodied armor, I'd assume the worst. Hygienist smiling, saying he brings her a lot of luck, making Jihad a bit embarrassed. This situation is peculiar, isn't it? She tells him to call if he ever needs help, and he agrees. Behim tries to swipe at her, but she just hugs him and pets him. Back at the shop, Jihad is looking up the symbiotic egg. He searches through books but finds nothing, so he decides to go to the world of the forest to see if he can discover anything. When he arrives at Tyrone's approach and indicate they want to help, Gara hands them the egg. The creatures take it to their Pain, who pets it gently. After a while, they're all climbing the tree, moving around. Suddenly, a giant moth appears. Kofra recognizes it as a symbion. It flaps its wings, scattering dust everywhere, and a message appears. A group of symbionts that were dormant have awakened. With that, the restoration of the world tree begins. Chizunakarta is thrilled and touches the tree as he does the world tree. Estos this blessing on him. The dormant destiny has awakened. His class changes to worker of the world tree. Chill looks around impressed. The place has grown much larger, and a lake seems to have appeared out of nowhere. The fruits like the solar apple have leveled up. He thinks with this he can make a lot more potions and earn more money. But then he stops himself. No, I'm here to help the world tree. He starts to think that perhaps restoring the tree is the purpose of all this. Could this be the goal of everything? He sees BM staring at him and asks if he's hungry. Pulls out his fishing rod. Let's catch some fish for dinner. He fishes out a red trout, but when he holds the fish, it has an effect. If eaten, activates level 1, extrasensory perception for 30 minutes. Increases your reflexes by 20%. He realizes that all these items, I have more detailed descriptions. This will make selling potions much easier. He decides to run back to the shop, unaware there's a crowd outside. BM is even handing out numbered tickets for entry into the shop. A guy asks what's going on. Everyone came in buy potions from this shop. Didn't you hear? The potions made by that guy are much better than others. People from other states are coming here just to buy from him. And they're still cheap. She has shop is packed, and he thinks that maybe this is the best way to help as many people as possible. That's why he's limited to 3 potions per person to give everyone a chance to buy one. His book-loving friend enters the shop and shows him on her phone that the Hunter website is all about him. She feels a bit embarrassed. She picks up a potion and says, "Wow, that's the first time I've seen something so well detailed. Nobody knows exactly what a potion does." She got bluffs that he just kept asking everyone until he figured it out. She says if the effects written are true, it's much better than all others. Could she take one extra? As a friend, Gaia says no, but as a friend he'll give her the scroll of creation wish. Any small wish can come true too. Uses Grey Cat, just hopes. Nothing strange. Happens because he hasn't seen anyone use it yet. Later, this friend went to a dungeon with her colleagues, and in the midst of everything she was hit by a creature on her back. When she fell, her group killed the creature and she got up. Strangely, the scroll activated by itself, giving a buff to receive 70% more items for 30 minutes. But at that moment, the ground cracked. Everyone panicked, thinking they would die, but instead they fell straight into the treasure room of that place. There she found exactly the book she had been searching for. After gathering everything, they were leaving the place from a bunch of creatures appeared to attack them. They tried to flee, but there was no escape. She put the book over her head and prayed Mount to die. Suddenly, they were in a kind of desert, and everything around them had disappeared. Meanwhile, back with Jaha, the creatures that were chasing them appeared on his land. When he returned to the shop, the people who have been teleported were angrily waiting at his door. Jahid let them in to explain the situation, and she showed him the book she had found. Inside the book was a map of the continent of Gehenna. After that, everyone left. Our boy was left thinking, now I have a lot of things to do, right? I have to take care of the shop, read this book, manage everything. But there he was, petting the kitten. Those feeling sleepy, he sat in the chair still thinking. Not to mention I have to make a bunch of potions before going to the garden. So he thought it would be better to first take a look at the map. Since it's a map used by the Empire's mites, its quality is quite different. Even the terrains, the names of places, the creatures, everything is written with great detail. The ancient lakes that appear came from the south, and the monster from the forest that he and Hygiene counter came from Mount Apego. If the map were complete, you would be able to know where all the dungeons are. At this moment, a clever idea struck him. He's going to ask the Pterodon if they knew of anything. Woke up all lazy with the kitten, but was curious where are the Pterodon ones. But the little flower that alerts about creatures was trembling, indicating a powerful creature had appeared. Our protagonist was curious. Did it appear here? Then we see the Pterodon surrounding a giant Cyclops. Giant. Well, because to our boy, everything is tiny. The Cyclops is a disaster-ranked creature first seen in China. Almost nothing is known about it besides its size and appearance. The only thing he remembers is that dozens of hunters were sent just to hunt this monster. However, in Korea, a Cyclops had never been seen before. The bees were shaking, all over struggling to hit the tiny Pterones. Our protagonists asked, "Beam, aren't you going to help them, you bawk? Look at that big guy over there." BM replied that no, they apparently didn't need help. Our protagonist found it strange. Not even a mission window appeared. Does this mean the terror guns can handle it? The little creatures were all shielded and brave. Our protagonist decided to write down some characteristics. Just to ensure things were noted, the Pterodons charged forward and the Cyclops tried to smash them, but they dodged, aiming straight for its eye. He concentrated some energy there. "Watch out for the laser," our boy warned. But the Pterodons took a bit of a hit. The laser went through the entire forest, leaving it devastated. Our boy realized the power difference between them and the Cyclops was significant. But the little guys gathered around a captain. Our protagonist was curious. What's their plan? They brought him make a jig, a big crystal, and cut it all up. Our boy wondered what are they going to do? They made all the little shields with other stones. The Cyclops didn't care, concentrated on its eye again, and unleashed another laser. Our boy saw that the Pterones wouldn't do anything but stay calmly there. He smiled as the laser hit the shield, reflected and struck the Cyclops' arm, which fell devastated. It was left stumped like he took the opportunity to write in his book. When facing a Cyclops, the best strategy is to use an ether shield to reflect its laser. He wondered if people would have enough author to do that. The Cyclops all shattered, was crying, running away, but it was over. Pterodon boom, hit its calf, hit its foot. It felt like a fool. Our protagonist was impressed. The little guys indeed managed on their own. Proudly, they came to talk to our boy. He gave them the usual petting. "You guys are awesome." Since they worked so hard, he decided to give them a reward. Handing over a bunch of ether, he gave everything to the happy Pterodon and received a little letter essence, plus 10 essence, plus 10 essence. 10 received 325 essences. He wondered why did I get so much after Guild Hua. Gyun saw that some information had been updated on the wiki. When she clicked it said strategy to defeat is Cyclops. You need 10 essences to see this information. She said, what kind of system is this? I've never seen this before, but it doesn't matter. Right? Instances she can get that easily in just a few dungeons. She sees the information there about the mace, the attack and the laser. She scrolls down to see the most important part, and it's another 10 essences. Man, this is cruel capitalism 1, she thinks. Poor girl ends up banging her head. Damn, no more essence. Who's the pastor that did this? If I catch you, I'll burn you. Our boy feels a bad sensation. Someone wants to do harm to me. Then we see Heinzek getting out of the car and asking the guy, is there something I need to know about? The guy says no. Then why are there so many hunters here? Damn it. Oh, it's because of this thing from yesterday. Look, he says, wait. A strategy to defeat a Cyclops. Yes, it costs 10 essences to see, and then another 10 essences to see the final strategy. But every hunter knows that. In essences can help with their status. Who's going to spend 20 just to see information about defeating a creature? That's why they all gather here head on over. The author is, but his writing is incredible. Yeah. Especially since his Cyclopes dungeon never appeared here. At the meeting, the guy says it's impossible to access the wiki from any other country, so it's definitely not a foreign thing. Jungkook asks, is there no way to track who's receiving these? The guy replies, unfortunately no. They automatically go straight to the system that helps the hunters, and strangely chest as it's set in the writing. Whoever reads that strategy receives a buff. Coming sick, not understanding a thing. Says I already have a headache. Instructs everyone in the operations group to monitor the hunters who accepted this mission and see what happens. Their safety is the priority. Then see a group form to go hunting. There are 2 hunters looking foolish and Hygiene looking all beautiful and wonderful. In the other group there are 2 more foolish ones in Hygal also looking beautiful. The scene changes to the Cyclops firing the big laser. The mic defends reflects it. Hygiene hits the thighs and calves, and then a meteor hits the chest. It's all chaos at the shop. Our boy is watching everything. An announcement is made. The psychologist dungeon was easily defeated without any catastrophe. Our protagonist is impressed, saying Hygiene and Hyun are incredible. The reporter says that this strategy will be shared with all other countries at no cost. Now G is 100% sure everything he writes in the Book of Infinite Magic is sent straight to the Hunter's wiki. If he keeps sharing everything he's doing with the Tarodrome, he'll never run out of ether. At that moment, the little plant is screaming. Oh no. Another monster. Let's go BMS. I'm telling you, this guy has medicine in the drawer. When the creatures announce themselves, he falls asleep. Upon arriving, he's in the middle of the sea, and on the other side he sees a Tarodrome come in. The system alerts the World Eater is injured and needs your help. Our boy is shocked. World Eater, what is that? Where the Tarodrome points down. He's underground. What is this hole here? When he realizes it, water splashes on his face. BM shakes off the water and dries his leg. Don't tell me I'm standing on the World Eater. Yes, it's the giant whale. Imagine you were so big. He is gigantic. How big is this? It doesn't even make sense. Does it fit on the planet? You're the World Eater. He rascal. He senses that it's weakened, now he understands why he was gaining so much essence. It was always for this. Here you go, he rascal, and throws everything inside it. Eat, however, and the beast gives him a little stare, getting angry. Our boy wants to know what's happening. Start shouting. There's a flash in the middle of the sea. The beast turns all white, and both fall to the ground, exhausted. A system message appears. Thanks to your help, the World Eater has returned to its original form. When he looks, it became tiny. Our boy likes it. He loves a cute creature, and he gives it a hug. The World Eater is swimming happily, and our boy thinks it was worth using the essences for this, right? BM obviously not. Biome wants everything for himself. Greedy. Suddenly, our boy notices something. Oh, what's happening? He jumps and splashes. Water on the fools when he looks. Actually, the World Eater brought a feast. A bunch of fish, oysters, snails, and crabs. Our protagonist is amazed. Wow, you're giving me all this. The creature nods. He thanks it and Beam starts eating. The World Eater then leaves on the news. Of course, they're already talking danger. Urgent news. An absurdly gigantic creature appeared in the southern part of Korea. Who could it be? Looking for the creature. Oh no, it's not the World Eater. It's a gigantic octopus. I thought it was our dear World Eater. It already jumped on a house. Everyone's running away in fear. The problem is that the hunters haven't arrived yet. Suddenly someone points out, Captain, what's that? When they look, they see what's behind the poor octopus. The guys are terrified. Wait, and destruction-level creature. Octopus wants to run back to the sea, but it gets sucked in and pulled into the belly of the World Eater gone. The whale is there in the sea, and the guys are just watching. Jungkook asks the guy, wait, so this giant whale is a demagogue that made a contract with someone who awakened for the first time? The guy says yes, it matches the description of a demigod. Shungzik says they need to watch a bit more, but they mention that all the creatures that were near area were pushed to Japan. No one understands what's happening. It's chaos in the library. He and Sonia are just reading. She brought him a bunch of old books from the Kingdom of Estrin, hoping to find some information. Our boy thanks her. She asked if he managed to use the map, and he says unfortunately it only covers from the beginning of the kingdom to the park by the river. Besides, it was described by some knights of the commander, so it's not very accurate. She's confused. What do you mean it's not perfect? You see everything to know. Our protagonist is thinking the one who saw everything was the Terradrome told me, but she can't know that. However, he adds, just adding the southern area of the Tail Sea will complete the Grell String Kingdom map. At least they will know everything around the region. Some Young is curious, why are you so keen on restoring the map? It seems too focused to be just a hobby. He says he feels that it will help someone. He's sure the guy Mina is looking for. Han Sung Yuk is alive somewhere on the continent of Urena. He's got unshakable faith. He found the guy's armor and sword completely destroyed, which means he's alive. But our boy is confident with the World Tree's ability. He's sure he'll find him soon. Have asked curiously, you trying to help a good friend? Who is she? Tell me. Our boy says it's not like that. She says, woman. I see, well, I'm going to sleep because I have to wake up early tomorrow. Our boy says, all right then. Goodbye, my warrior. But before she leaves, he reminds her to pick up the potion in the morning, since they're doing Dungeon Run 3. She agrees, thanks him, and leaves. Our boy is happy with her visit, as she helped him gather more information. He creates a new scroll in the book, a scroll of pursuit. It allows finding a living person through a trace of their location. Armoy is thinking of hygiene, all teary and sad. He wants to help the warrior, so he uses the scroll. Spatial power beam of light, seeing her walking back and forth. Why didn't you use it on the guy you want to find? You fool? It's fine since he can make infinite specials. Anyway, BM comes along, gives him a look, asked if he was scared. He gives him a pet, and they're back to the dream world. Strangely, the water there became much clearer. He wonders if it's all thanks to the World Eater. Even the solar apples have leveled up. He visits the Terra Drone gang, and the boss is getting huge. Oh no, wait. He was just the angle. Our boy apologizes for the delay. He was very busy. Meeting the rascal then brings a bunch of seeds from some fruit for him. Our protagonist is impressed. A quantity has increased a lot compared to before. He thanks them. The leader points upward, and our boy wonders what is it. He starts climbing. Do you want me to climb? Alright, here we go. When he reaches the top, you can see everything around. He recognizes a mountain in the distance is Mount Apedo, and this really proves that the entire continent of Gehenna is within this garden. At that moment, BM looks down angrily, wanting to get down to eat, but now he's stuck. It's easy to climb up, but hard to get down. As he starts to descend, something grabs it, squeezes, and he sees a little plant staring at him. He gets scared, and the plant gets scared too. He calls out for help. BM save me as the plant evil know it. Just made a path for him. They are all affectionate. Our boy says sorry, thank you for helping me down. He realizes, wow, it's just a cute little plant that likes to clean to people. Should I add this to the hunter's wiki too? Looking at the long path, he knows he'll have to cross this whole plain to reach Mount Apato. He remembers that this is the direction that people who fled from the Estrin Kingdom went. According to the Pterodon's information, this might also be the direction Hen Sunyak, who disappeared, went. The map shows that following the Tails River also gets you close to Mount Apato. Heading south of the mountain might be a good idea to find traces of Sunyak. But when he gets there, he hits a barrier. This is as far as he can go, so he asks the Pterodome for help. While they investigate, he goes to feed BM. The problem is where his BM. He's shouting for him to come over. Strange Beyond. Usually stays around but never goes this far. Here's something that looks over. It's the crazy carnivorous plant coming to talk to him. Our boy is now worried where is BM. He bangs his head on the table in the shop beyond. Where did you go without me? We did so much together. At that moment, Hygiene and Jungkook enter the shop. She asks what's wrong, Jai. Jay replies, hi, who's this guy next to you? He introduced himself that he's talking. He grounds a potion and tells our protagonist that what he has is extraordinary. Our protagonist thanks him, saying he will make tea for them. It seems our boy called her because she says I was surprised you called me first. Our boy says he has something to tell her. She, curious, responds to me. He says I was studying an ancient book and found something you might like. She looks at it. Scroll a change. Trace, the protagonist says this will help you find Sung Yok. Hyungsik asks, did you make the scroll? How did you translate an ancient book? Hygiene interrupts. We keep that a secret, right? She got confirms. Kunkun asks Mr. Jihad, did you make a contract with the divine creature? Our protagonist wonders to himself, does he already know about the demigods? The guy says yes. Demigod. The guy explains, you don't have to tell me your abilities and how you use them or not is up to you. I just want you to know that you have become a very important person in South Korea. Now our protagonist says, me, the guy explains. Thanks to your potions, the survival rate of hunters has increased by 20%. The Hunters Association owes you a debt, so I came here to give you this. If you need anything, we will support. Our protagonist feels awkward. Do I deserve this? The guy says yes, you are the future of the hunters. Hygiene interrupts. Wait, you said you wanted to talk to him personally. The guy replies, I am talking to him personally here. Hygiene apologizes to our protagonist, saying she didn't know Hygiene Sick would come here for this business. He's a maniac. Our boy says it's alright, he appreciates everything, and next time he will. A good meal for everyone. The guy thanks him, takes a bunch of potions and leaves Hygiene comments. He's like that, only likes to work. Our protagonist says it's kind of cute in a way. They go inside to talk. She sits next to him and asks, what are you writing? He says, wait, I'm finishing up. He draws a castle in a lake. She asks, wait, is this the Estring Kingdom's castle? That's right. He explains, if you see a place with terrain similar to this drawing, use the scroll, and you're thinking of Samyak. If he's nearby or has any trace of him, the scroll tell you where he is. He wants to show her how it works now, but he's running out of ink. She thanks him teary-eyed. Thank you so much. He says it's okay. I believe he's alive somewhere, and I will help you as much as I can. She says he's such a kind person. He responds, it's nothing. Friends should always help each other. She gets closer, asking, do you need help with anything? Tell me. He thinks, oh, she getting too close. She asks, where is BM? Where did he go? He says, he ran off in a forest. BM is jumping around, transforming, becoming gigantic, even with his weakened body being destroyed hundreds or thousands of times. The Guardians hold their position until the last moment, and the prey of the god Arctis has come to find you. It seems Beam is hunting someone. He finds a little wolf trapped by goblins and chains the one who conveys the will of the god Growler. It's bad for the poor wolf surrounded by 200 goblins. Let's see how he handles this. He's growling with everyone watching when suddenly they hear something. Looking back, they see gigantic. He walks through them without saying anything. He sends a message Schumann all those enslaved by evil. The goblins run away. He then talks to the little wolf, who looks at him and says, what are you doing here? You coward? The Arctis. It seems the creature has two names, Arctis and Beyond. Beyond breaks his chain and says retirement ends here. Growler. Growler responds, you arrogant cat. But B-Knight explains the restoration of the world tree has begun. Growler sits. Only the will of God can guide me. Get out of here, you stinky cat. Bean bites him on the neck. Take that? Growler asks. What are you doing, you puckin'? BM says, boy, you forgot on the procurator of God. If I say you go, and it's done. Then see our boy with his party friends all standing in front of a castle. It looks like the castle he drew while searching in the other world. He thanks them for coming with him. Seeing Young says no problem. Compared to the potions you gave us, it's worth it. But why did you want to come here? This is just an empty dungeon, right? The protagonist explains. The Black Lion commander helped some survivors escape during the war. There might be some kind of secret tunnel song. Young responds, oh, I didn't consider that. Maybe there really is something here. The Mohawk Knight says, I don't care about mentioning the Fallen Kingdom. I just hope for some insane artifact inside the sword he's using. A Long Knight's sword not only gives good stats, but also increases the group's damage by 7% for 5 minutes. Our boy says, that sword you have is pretty good, isn't it? The guy looks at it. This is just a normal artifact. At least it has a group buff. Our protagonist thinks, I know it's a rare artifact. The guy asks, how do you know that our boy thinks, oh crap, I've forgotten I can see this stuff? He lies. I recently received an item analysis skill, that's all. Everyone is impressed. Wow, now they understand why he can describe the potions so well. The armored guy asks, hey, take a look at this for me. What do you think of my armor? Our boy checks light chest armor, increases defense by 10%, and critical defense by 5%. That's it. The mage congratulates him for finally getting a skill, and he thanks everyone, all happy. The knights are ecstatic. This skill is amazing. We're all going to get rich. Let's go. He hits them on the head. How dare you think of using the boy? They apologize. Someone tells him it's good if you've made a skill, like you have to be careful with something like this. You'll find bloodsuckers like those two everywhere. He laughs. Got it. But our boy thinks it makes sense. They continue walking along the wall. He thinks it might be good to ask Hingisik later how to use his skills better. They might points to a part of the wall destroyed by monsters. On the other side is the Tails River, much larger than anyone imagined, and the water is extremely clear. Our boy stands near it, thinking, this place looks very deep. How do they make a tunnel here? He needs to check the back of Mount Apato. Do you want to see in the book when everyone comes? Atal, are you drawing the place? What are you doing? At that moment, the Scroll of Hope in Sunny's backpack activates, the one that increases the chance of receiving a special item by 70%. Our boy suddenly stands up, scaring everyone. She looks confused, but he stood up because he saw she was falling into the water like an idiot. There she goes again, drowning. Our boy heroically dives in swimming like Michael Phelps to save her, but something is on his back. Look who it is. It's the World Eater, but very small. He has saved them both outside. He tells her to wake up. You crazy? You're all drowned. A while later, they're back on solid ground. Our boy thanks the World Eater for saving them both. Then Su Young calls him from afar, telling him to take a look. There's a strange magic circle with a small cauldron. Our protagonist is delighted. They thank the world here and say goodbye. Su Young wonders, am I cursed without knowing? I keep falling all the time? The little knight tells her, at least you got that brooch. It seems good, and her hand is the artisan's last brooch. She asks our boy, does this have any special function? He examines it. Production artifact increases the quality of hand techniques by 10%. She's amazed, really. She tears out some pages from the book and makes an origami dragon. Our boy says this artifact is perfect for her. It would be perfect for me too, for making potions, but it's her power too. The knight says, let's head back. The dungeon is about to close. Our boy thanks them and says we'll see them tomorrow. It turns out that the writing on the ground taught how to make a dimensional portal. Using the power granted by the gods, you can open a portal to a different dimension. You can return by drawing the same circle. Our protagonist is hopeful. I found a magic circle and got lucky. If I can figure out the secret behind this, maybe I can learn how the Terrans can travel so easily from the garden to the real world. He returns to the shop saying, well, I'm back. But then he remembers the rascal isn't there. However, he's as confident as ever, a psychopath who believes in everything. I'm sure he'll come back soon. I'll be to work. Back in the garden, he calls the kids, but where are they? Looking around, there's no one. When he looks to the side, he sees BM, gigantic with a little wolf in his mouth. Our boy asks, you rascal. And as you grow so much, and who is this stray dog in your hand? It takes a closer look. Growler, the messenger of God, asks for your help. You want to take care of the boy, yes or no? Our boy of course accepts. The creature begins to glow golden. The power of the world tree flows into Broiler, and he starts to regain his strength. He glares at our protagonist, growling fiercely but being so small. There's nothing he can do. Our boy grabs him because he's cute. John names him Doggo like a little dog. Truly a prodigy of creativity. Doggo doesn't like it, but BM says just accept it, pal. This is your new home. A while later, the number of Tourette owns has increased significantly since Dogo arrived. It's probably because of his characteristics, demigod and the master's will. It increases affinity and leadership of animals by 1.1, and also increases everyone's speed by 1.2. Chryska says this is very good. It means that just by grill or getting stronger, everyone gets stronger. Not to mention, he still has the persistent hunter ability, detecting any movement within 2 kilometers. With Doggo leading, they will quickly reach Mount Apino. The harvest is yielding a mountain of either. Thanks to the kids, he picks a special fruit to give as a present. He's eager to eat happily, but greedy BM comes and steals it. A fight breaks out. Our boy has to separate them, saying, hey, you two rascals, stop fighting. At that moment, the little plant sends a warning. You know someone is at the shop. Your returns placing the two on the ground, telling them they're fat from eating too much. At that moment, the guys from the association are entering the shop. Doggo is feisty, already glaring at them. One of them says, man, you got another one, you rascal. Henson greets our protagonist, saying I didn't expect you to invite me so soon. He feels a bit embarrassed. It was a big surprise. He almost took cuts to the chase. Is it true what you told me before? You can see the characteristics of artifacts. The protagonist confirms yes. The guild leader, whom our boy had previously refused, also speaks. Hi, it's been a while, Mr. Jiha. Our protagonist responds. Yes, it has been. But what brings you here, Hunter Troy, if I may ask? The guy says, I know you refused guild offers last time, and I remember how angry they got, but I'm here for a different reason. The potions and scrolls you've been making are incredible, and as an alchemist, I'm getting jealous. Our protagonists have been embarrassed. Thanks him. Hyungzik says, let's sit and talk, we have many questions. A while later, he asks, up to what level of artifact can you see? Our protagonist explains, I can perfectly see the name, description, unique ability, and even the percentages. I discovered this while making some potions and artifacts. They are both impressed. Such a skill, it's almost like you belong to a class specialized in item analysis. Our protagonist, a bit shy, says he has the ability but doesn't know exactly how to use it. Kungstek says they will teach him. Besides, Hunter Troy is there for the same reason. Our protagonist is happy, saying he will help the hunters as much as he can with his skills. Gangsta continues. First, you need to know there are only a few appraisers. The entire world, if your ability is exposed, hunters from all over the world will come to your shop, disrupting your daily life. But we have already made preparations for this. Our protagonist asks what you already did in Hunter's Wiki, is a new post-information artifact appraisal. Poor Dwayne is exasperated again. When she opens to see the information, it says appraisals from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for an easy process. The first appraise are the first to arrive. Maximum of 60 reservations per day. Location Eternal Flame Guild basement. Huion is puzzled. What? That's my guild? How come? What's going on? I haven't known anything about this. Next scene, there's already a line forming. Our protagonist is wearing a mask, so no one knows it's him. Just sending out artifact analysis. To everyone, if you use this blade like the other blade called Witch of the East, every 30 seconds there's a chance to speed up your movement. The girl thanks him. Thank you so much, Master Cat. He also thanks her, saying that analyzing artifacts is quite fun. The only downside is that it's a bit annoying to wear the mask, but it was worth asking Chungzit for help. Now he feels a bit embarrassed. He refused Ryan's offer to join guild. But here he is using her guild. Poor boy on his banging the table in frustration. Choi says, calm down, my warrior. The worst part is, he's thinking if she finds out it's jihad, it will be even worse. She doesn't know a thing. She's upset, saying, I can't believe the reservations are full for 3 months already. Koi says, miss, it's your fault for not being quick enough. She grabs him. You crushed him. How could you do this to me? You should have told me earlier, Troy explains. I'm not the one in control that's coming sick. There's nothing I can do. The location was decided just yesterday. Besides, you told me I could use the basement for anything. She looks at a bunch of stacks and says it'll take I don't know of 2 years to analyze all this. Do something about it now. We have some privilege since they're using our place, he says. I don't know. I'm leaving. Have a lot to do. Your time will come eventually. Just wait, and don't cause more trouble. She sits down angrily thinking, where did this Master Cat come from? Who is this guy? If I find out, I'll make him my appraisal slave. Our boy's ears are burning. They won't stop talking about him. Our protagonist is explaining to Choi how to make high-quality potions. You have to shake it like this, my friend. That way the potion, those from special to very special food. Alex. Wow, we did it the same way, but yours has a 16-second duration and mine 11. What's happening? Our protagonist says it could be a variation in the quality of ingredients, but in reality, it's because he's already at level 3. Alchemist, though, no one knows. However, at least they made enough to sell tomorrow. Our protagonist thanks him for his presence, saying that with him here, the shop will produce faster. Koi says that he and the president of the Hunters Association want to recruit more alchemists. Good potions like these can't just be sold here. We need to open more and more shops. Please teach me more, sensei. Our boy says that he needs to capture him, having only started as an alchemist recently. A while later, when they leave, he's exhausted and thinks, let's go to the garden, I'll just fall asleep. Upon arriving, the pterodon are busy with their harvest, creating mountains of ether. Our boy says, come here, kids, and they come happily jumping into his lap. Of course, they also argue with each other. The little knight pterodon comes and points in a direction. Our protagonist wonders what's the problem. Roland jumps and gestures with his head to call them too. He follows with the mosquito gang and wild dogs approaching a system message. Pier's creatures have appeared in the Great Plains. Growler demonstrates his command abilities. Wow, the Zork is tiny compared to him. With one paw, everyone flies away. A system says the Pterodrone army successfully destroyed all creatures. The Pterodrome evolved after receiving a demigod's blessing. A new species appears. Gallium, shining in the skies, comes into our boy's hand. Drone Explorer, due to your contribution, the plane begins to be cleared. A new area amount of pedo has been unlocked, so that's how it works. Kill creatures to expand the area. Our boy praises everyone for their good work, especially Doggo, who's all smug. Did you see my skills? Kitty? BM says that he's too precious to get his paws dirty. The fight starts again, and our boy has to grab them. Let's go to Mount Appetite, you rascals, in hopes to find some clue. After walking a lot, you finally finds the base used by the Black Lion Mike's group. Considering the bases here in the south, it seems there's some kind of passage halfway a tunnel in the mountain when our boy tries to pass and message appears. The intervention allowed by the World Tree's restoration has been completed. Direct physical interference with China is now prohibited. Regarding your fate, the effects of being a representative of the divinities have now been applied. Communication with Kahina entities is now possible. Jacob understands that now he can't do what he did before when he created a space in the ground with a slap. From now on, he will have to act more like a commander. The problem is, how will he command the creatures if he can't go beyond this point? The system provides a solution. Divine vision ability obtained. You can see the area from a god's perspective. Our protagonist activates it and starts floating, hovering in the sky. He sees everything from above and is impressed, but he instantly notices something. It seems his vision can be everywhere at once. There's an army of humans surrounded by orcs. Our protagonist wonders, could these be the surviving kingdom people who disappeared? The battle is intense with creatures falling all around. Our protagonist sees a blonde guy fighting fiercely. Wow, could that be the captain? Someone calls out the captain's name, and our boy recognizes him instantly. It's the Sony of that halogen has been searching for. Eddie says to him, it's tough, these orcs keep coming. They seem to be emerging from the plains. Chuck, confused, says, I don't know how this is happening. A cruel guy kicks an orc down the mountain, saying they could at least bring some food. At this rate, we'll have to eat monsters. Eddie assures him, relax, we won't let you starve. Sonic replies, I told you many times that Pig Poro Jack is working with the Baron. They're stealing our supplies. If you authorize it, I'll find where they're hiding everything. My dear Prince Eddie declines. You know, thank you. Our protagonist recognizes that the blonde guy is the Prince of the Estranged Kingdom. With that, Samyak leaves with his men. The mission appears for our protagonist. Rebuild the survivors' village. You have found the survivors of the Estranged Kingdom, who were defeated by the undead forces and escaped. The survivors currently hiding in Mount Apego are struggling with numerous monsters and food shortages. Mission 1. Restore the possession of the String Kingdom to the prince, reinstating him as the rightful owner. Mission 2. Find the villains. Get rid of those exploiting and abusing the villages. Baron Graham and Poorer Jack Jihad is impressed he has never received a mission with so many details before. Is this some kind of story mode? But doesn't matter, just finding Sunup is already great. Regin will be thrilled with this news. He has to find her, but then shakes his head. First I need to bring him back. I can't physically interfere with their world. How will I do this? Then, he remembers. Actually I can, I just can't do it myself. He calls the Terra Domes. I'll need a favor from you guys first. You know what this magic circle does? The captain points in a direction. When they get there they find 2 circles. Our protagonist realizes that they're using ether to activate them. He throws it in the middle, and it starts glowing. Our protagonist understands that the green circle is the entrance, and the yellow is the exit. The Tyrones jump into the green circle and come out of the yellow one. Our protagonist says, wow, that's really a teleportation circle. The survivors probably use this instead of a tunnel. The exit must be somewhere near Mount Albedo. If he can find where it is, he can bring everyone back. He asks the Pterodon, do you also use the magic circle to go back and forth between the garden and the real world? They make an X with their hands. Greitz A asks, and how do you go so easily from the garden to Gehenna? The captain points to the world tree. What? The world tree is the bridge between the 2 worlds. Still confused, he thanks everyone for their hard work, and asks the captain to look around Mount Apado for any kind of magic circle, and to notify him if they find one. The scene shifts to the survivors' camp. The soldiers have gone to collect supplies, but when they reach the cart, it looks like there's only enough for a week. Eddie speaks to Poro Jack. The amount of food here doesn't match the amount of minerals you collected. Porvo Jack, knowing he's guilty, says we're having difficulties. 2. The farms were invaded by monsters. Eddie retorts, sure I know. Poor Jack defensively says, what did you say? Eddie tells poor Jack to calm down. Enough of this, Eddie. Van asked poor old Jack, what can we do to get more supplies, Porter? Jack says, I'm not a greedy elf, so... But at that moment Baron Graham appears, interrupting maybe Mithril. Eddie is confused. Mithril, are you serious? The Baron replies, yes. Eddie tries to explain. Hold on, just leaving this village is very difficult because of the monsters. How are we supposed to get Mithril? The Baron explains, that's why I mentioned the wild elf. I got some information from one of them. There's a place in this valley where you can easily find Mithril, deep within Mount Apato. Poor Rojak adds, clearly with more Mithril we could get a lot more food. The soldiers get angry, but Eddie says it's okay. What's the weight in this valley? The Baron says it's to the south, at the top of the mountain, but he isn't sure. The only way to find it. Eddie cuts him off. I understand, I'll do it. The Baron asks, are you really going to do it? And he replies, the kingdom of the Strand has fallen, but I still have my followers. I won't let the people who follow me starve. Graham says okay, then we'll be waiting for your return to go out and sell them. As soon as you get back. Good idea, poor Jack says, but Eddie adds, I will go with you when I bring in the frill back. Ground responds. Unfortunately, the elves don't like that they don't let strangers into their villages. Eddie states the obvious. I believe you were once a stranger too. The Baron reluctantly agrees. All right then, we'll do it that way, Prince Eddie. Sonia tells him. Buddy, I know you like to play. Hero, but I don't want to die. My lover is waiting for me outside. Confirmed he and Hygiene have a relationship for those who are shipping her with the protagonist. Sorry that dream is shattered. Eddie reassures. Don't worry, I'll make sure we come back alive. We then see a girl with white hair and clothes in front of an altar, praying to a deity named Arctic. Her prayers? Baron Brahm is right behind her, saying it's almost time. Just a little longer, we then see the history of the Kingdom of the Strand. A long time ago, the Kingdom of the Strand existed on the continent of Kahina. People lived peaceful and happy lives until a war against monsters began. The survivors of this war followed Prince Udinsky, or Eddie as he's known, to escape the undead. They hid in Mount Apedo. However, even there they still suffer from creature attacks and food shortages. Aaron Graham and Merchant Pora Jack had a trade license with the Wild Elves, allowing them to get food. In the end, Ed Sin and Yuki raise their swords for the people. Our protagonist, overseeing the scene from above, thinks so. This is the story of this place. But he's also angry. These guys are trying to hunt overs on their own. Overs are fear-level creatures. They have tough skin, heal quickly, have little intelligence, but can destroy anything in their path. Helping these people just with this vision ability is tough. Sin and Yuki are strong enough that no one can defeat them, and Ed has already defeated all the members of the Black Lion Legion. They have a chance, but it won't be easy. He hears a voice on Mission Arc. Please hear this prayer. Our protagonist is hearing the voice of the girl with white hair praying. He's confused what's going on. Who is this? She's a wonderful girl asking for bravery for the people that a mission appears. Saint Selena requests your help. She pleads for your salvation. Mission 3. The Pious Prophet of God. Spread your beliefs by helping people through Saint Selena. And then an extra mission when Selena praised you. Have 3 minutes to speak and exchange items. Our protagonist. Impressed. Wow, can I use this? She seems confused. Wait, is someone here? Apparently his voice went straight into her head. Whoa, she heard me. Before doing anything, I need to organize everything in the garden. He returns to the garden, where the Terror Dome patrollers are all wearing sunglasses. Why are you wearing those, my children? He gathers all the warriors and explorers, explaining that he has an urgent mission. They need to find the magic circle in Mount Apago. The explorers need to keep an eye on the survivors there. If anything happens, they should alert him. The bravest of them stays with him for an important task. He needs to deliver this sword to Prince Eskel. Their current weapons are far from sufficient. Look at this good party of brave ones, he says. Doggo asked. Be my damn. Are you going to let him go like this? Be them replies. It's not time yet. He still needs more power to deal with their presence. Until then we can only wait. Doggo, frustrated, says I'm tired of waiting. They'll die from waiting too long. Another argument breaks out. We then see Graham and poorer Jack talking horror. Jack says, as expected of you, Baron. The prince is gone now. This is perfect for us. The Baron replies he may be royalty, but he's still just a child. This world isn't easy enough to depend on the sword alone. Graham laughs, saying he hopes that the guy next to him dies too. The Baron asks, how's it going? Do we have enough horror? Jack says that the wild elves said they're using it to hunt monsters. He tested it on one of the captured orcs, and the effect is incredible. Just a sniff and the orcs go crazy. The guys are giving drugs to the orcs. They're confident, saying no matter how skilled the others are, die in half a second. The Baron tells him to lower his voice. Celebrate when it's all done. Now go do your job. Poor Exact leaves but slams the door. Obviously the villain thinks that Fosking, he thinks he's better than me. You're just the same as me, you idiot. Looking out the window, the Baron says, Prince Iskall, when you disappear I will no longer be a Baron. I will give the new game of a strand, even saying Selena will have to bow to me, and you will see everything from hell. Our protagonist sees it all, thinking you're damn scoundrel. He focuses on Selena's house. Hey girl, say a prayer. I don't have time. The system comments. At least things on the other side seem to be going well. The people are fighting all buffed up, slicing here and there. They're winning, our protagonist. Impressed seeing that they might actually defeat the ogres who are falling and trembling. One tries to flee but gets taken down. This leader is ruthless. The ogre takes a hit to the leg, falling awkwardly to the ground. A sword strike to the spine. These guys are ruthless, painting the forest red. Sonic says, Hey Ed, is there another sword? No man, mine's already trashed. Heed replies, No worries, I just wish the sword wouldn't break. Sunyak says, Suddenly someone proven far away. Now it's just the drug of orcs. They charge the unfortunate guy standing there. His stoic expression is unshakable. Samyak warns him to be careful, but something strange happens. Something passes through the work. It is confused. We switch back to Selena, beautiful and praying. Please protect this land, the prince and his people. The system alerts first. Prayer completed. Selena, a disciple of Ark, has successfully offered a prayer. You can send God's apostles to assist the disciple. Our protagonist is confused. What's this? He clicks yes. The mission reads, God's apostle Terra Drone Knights. He confirms and his little companion shines. Getting hiked up back in the fight, the overtakes a hit to the chin. Look who's beating it easily. Another orc comes to strike, but gets blocked and knocked down. Ed stands still, having done nothing so far. Sonia tells E.T. to snap out of it. Ed glances and they both run towards the ogre's leg. One jumps on its back, the other on its calf. Slash here. Slash there. Sunup says it wasn't deep enough and warned him to be careful. He gets thrown far away again. Who's still standing? I thought he was dead. The others helped him up, telling him to be careful. Meanwhile, the Terradrome is in a one-on-one fight, but another ogre approaches. The Terradrome impresses with his horns and sends it flying into the other. Perfect headbutt. Almost romantic. The Terradrome standing tall winks at Ed is confused. Why is this monster helping us? Our protagonist in the sky is impressed. The Terradrones seem much stronger since becoming God's apostles. The only downside is that high essence cost to maintain them, but it's the only way to help. The system asks you want to extend God's apostle duration requires 5 essences for every 10 minutes. Our protagonist decides to continue supporting them. Ed recognizes the golden light as a symbol of Ark. The ogres get up growling. We're going to die here at a green prairie. Poor Sunyak struggles to stand after the intense hit and asks, "Are you okay? Can you still fight?" Suddenly Sunyak stands up, saying yes, he was just acting. These overs have high resistance. A long battle is a disadvantage. For us, we need to finish them in 3 minutes. It challenges him. Show me then. The overcharges at the Terradrome, who grabs his arm. Some hook rushes in. Since you like healing, let's end you before you can. He activates a speed boost, his blade glowing, leaps stylishly into the sky and slashes the ogre's neck, decapitating it. Our protagonist is impressed. Wow, he killed a person. For Uber, in one hit, the #1 hunter is truly different. But then Sung's blade breaks in half. He laughs, saying he used too much ether on the blade. A blinding flash occurs during the Terradrone, an overfight. Sunyak sees the beast charging at him and gets scared, but the Obra falls dead, struggling to get up. He says, "Today's not my day." Ed comments, "You're drawing a lot of attention today. It would be easier if I had a good sword," Sonic replies. They thank the Terradrome, now looking fluffy and gigantic. They turns and flies away. They wave goodbye. Back in the protagonist's hand, he says, "Good job." In the church, a worker brings food to the saint, saying she'll get sick if she doesn't eat. The kind and wonderful saint insists on giving the food to a hungry child instead. She returns to her prayer. "Ark, please bring some hope to our poor souls." That's when she heard a voice asking if Selena could hear him. She started crying, saying she could hear the voice of God. Ark. He simply said he was an apostle, and told her to send the Prince Ek. She was confused, but he explained that there was something he needed to find there. Selena, excited, said she would pass on this information immediately. One of the guys nearby wondered if the sync had gone mad. Seeing that there were only 8 seconds left in the conversation, he told her to wait a moment and warned her to stay away from Baron Graham because he was up to something. Then he was disconnected, leaving Selena confused. Our protagonist hoped she understood the message. The Baron muttered to himself that it was better to leave at that moment. She looked back and saw him retreating. She spoke to the heavens, saying she would take his words to heart without resolved. She had to do his part in the forest, and he asked his friend if he was okay. He said he was fine because he had been through similar situations many times. Everyone wondered what those monsters were doing. She-Has creatures were busy collecting crystals until someone called out to the prince. When he looked back, it was a maid. Confused, he asked why she came running and if something had happened in the village. The woman said she brought a message from the saint. Selena told them to go enro, because there he would find what he was looking for. Some youth was confused because the mithril was supposed to be to the north. Eddie asked if Selena said he would find it, and the woman said she didn't know, but that she had received an oracle. He asked Eddie what he thought, and Eddie said he had no idea, leaving the decision to him since he was the captain. Eddie suggested that maybe those giant beetles were related to Arksen, and if that was the case, they should go there to find out if it was true. He turned to the knights and said they would move separately, and they agreed. Samyak ran and grabbed the guy's sword, but Eddie told him to relax because he would give him a much better sword. Later, the scene shifts to Jaya, meeting Hygiene. She looks confused, asking what he's doing there. Our boy just smiled, saying it had been a while since they last. We saw each other. She approached, asking why he was there, and he said he had a favor to ask. She invited him in, and he thanked her. Inside, she asked if he really wanted something sword, and he said yes. Confused, she asked why he needed his sword. Sheila said he had heard that someone was in behind at that moment. She seemed emotional, asking if that was really true. He said yes, and that he hadn't told her earlier because he didn't want he have false hopes. Excited, she stood up, saying she would do anything to help, and ran upstairs, asking him to wait a minute. Moments later, she returned the Sunyak sword. It's a symbol of the contract with Growler, which only the contractor could use. Greyhow said the sword of the warrior's cry was incredible. She was confused, asking how he already knew the name. He revealed that he was the so-called Master Cat. When he went to grab the sword, it was heavy and he almost fell. She explained that Sunyak's sword had much more other than other hunters' weapons. He started putting it in his bag, thanking her for lending it to him. Outside, she thanked him for everything, and he said it was all right. He would find a way to bring Sonic back. Hyjin smiled, saying she believed he would because he was an incredible person. Our boy blushed but said he had to go back at the shop. He wondered where the troublemakers were. They were right at the door, hesitating but seemingly wanting to say something. One looked at the other, urging the other to speak. Dogo nudged Diva's foot and Jiva realized maybe he wanted to go with him. He patted him, saying it was okay, since he must have his reasons. With that, they were in the forest. Meanwhile, Sung Yuke and Eddie were arriving in front of the castle. Eddie remembered that this was the place they used to escape, knowing there must be something there. They decided to go in, however, someone was watching them from behind. Inside, they discussed how Mount Apedio had many tunnels. Samyak asked if the place where Eddie was found was nearby. Eddie said yes and asked when he was going to repay the favor. The friend jokes that he was an anxious guy and the creatures he had already killed paid that price. With that, he laughed, saying he was just kidding. Then Eddie tells him to stop because he found something. They both look down and say it looks very suspicious. It would be strange for a trap to be marked with an X on the ground. Sonia taps the ground, asking if anyone is there. Even with a simple touch, the ground starts to break. Within a second, the entire floor collapses. He tells his friend that now the favor is fully repaid. Eddie tells him to activate the ether in his sword to use it as a torch, which he doesn't like. However, as they walk a bit further, something catches their attention. They see a strange golden sword stuck in a stone. Some of you have asked if Ed knows that one. He says that sword is the seal of the kingdom of Istrian and goes to take it, wondering how it got there. The moment Ed raises the sword, the protagonist starts receiving multiple achievements for Prince Identical, breaking the seal. Now the prince was recognized by Ark and communication was possible. He even received the observation ability, allowing him to see the potential of allies. Geo was smiling, thanking Ed. Observing the Valley of Griffins, he wondered why people were gathering there. A system message said the Terra drones were there and asked if he would support them. As always, he said yes. He saw the entire army and wanted to test the new ability he received, seeing that the Terra drone's experience bar was at 95%. He knew there was at least one more evolution. The only problem was that the creature was already very strong. What would happen if he made it even more powerful? However, seeing that many other Terra drones also had experienced bars, he knew the ability would be very useful. But first they needed to defeat these griffins, so Give poured a bunch of experience points into the kids. Just then, Dado appeared, calling for him. Your turn, and asked what the problem was. At the same moment, the dog jumped into his bag and he asked if he was hungry, but Dabo stole the sword and Jihad told him to stop because it was dangerous. Strangely, Daga ran to a portal and stood there with the sword in front of him. Suddenly the puppy started to glow, and the system said that Growler was recovering the power he had lost. However, it would cost 2,000 essences, and the system warned that if it failed, he would revert to his primordial form. Grave only had 2,300 essences, but didn't want to disappoint his friend, so he withdrew everything, saying to use it. A blinding light enveloped the area and all the essence energy passed to the dog. A while later, she found himself in a space. When he opened his eyes, the dog was gigantic in front of him. He hesitantly edited asking if it was his friend, but the creature wasn't happy and made a face. A voice said it had been waiting for this moment with the Apostle of God, and advised him to stop being called by that ridiculous name. She started sweating, saying he didn't realize he disliked it so much. However, the dog turned, saying it wasn't about disliking it, just that he didn't like that type of name. Then it thanked him, saying because of him, the world had another chance. Poor Jihad. Feeling embarrassed that he was a bit confused, the dog warned that his mission from now on was crucial. Whether the entire world would be destroyed or restored depended on Jihad. A light appeared, and the dog said it was out of time, telling Jihad to become stronger. Jihad, confused, said he was already too old to be called a child. Once again he was blinded by the light, and woke up in the forest, lying in the grass, confused about what happened. He got up exhausted, saying he needed to learn to stay more focused. However, determined, knowing that Growler said his mission was crucial, he would do his best. The Terra drone flew to him that he said he was fine. He took a book and said it was time to return to hunting griffins. He started writing another spell. The scene shifted to waterfalls, filled with flying griffins while walking through the mountains that couldn't believe they found the seal had been lost. Sudiak, angry, said he wanted a weapon for himself. He turned to Ed and warned him that he needed to learn to draw his sword before hearing excuses, especially since if he didn't, the Baron would turn against him confidently. Sunyak said he would slit the Baron's throat if necessary, but Ever replied that those were his people. Even if they did bad things, Sunyak sighs, saying that if Ed wants to keep being fooled, he can go ahead. But then Ed looks ooh and something seems to catch his attention. The entire mountain is glowing, and they have no idea what's happening. Back to Jiva writing in the book, he's observing the fight and noticing that the Terra drones are winning in numbers. The problem is, while the Terra drones can only fly forward, the Griffins have full control in the air. It can change direction. The only one who has a chance is the Terra drone knight. Then he sees a group coming out of the cave, carrying a net and looking determined. Gaia smiles, thinking it's a great idea. The nets are thrown towards the Griffins, managing to trap some of them. However, the fight is still tough and the Terra drones are struggling. And something shines next to Jagad. The potential of the Terra drone might has reached 100%. The little one raises his arm and now he has received the shockwave ability. Shil watches as he raises his glowing purple claw and strikes down. The energy sweeps over all the Griffins. Gray gives a thumbs up, saying that was amazing. From a distance, Eddie and Sonia are blinded by the light. They recognize that it's the same Beal from before and realize they might be coming to help them. If that's the case, they decided to join the fight. Suddenly the giant beetle appears in front of them. Before they can say anything, the beetle draws a house on the ground. They are confused, not knowing what it means, but seeing the beetle point towards the city, they understand it wants them to return to the village. Samyuk thinks something might have happened there. Eddie thanks the peel and says they'll leave that place to the Terror drums. Watching them go, Gaetei thinks that's the most he can do. Now the two run as fast as they can, hoping everything is okay in the village. Then Sunyak is shocked seeing corpses on the ground, saying that someone finally acted. Eddie recognizes the soldiers as Baron Groom's men. Suddenly Sungit puts the sword to his face, making him a vow of revenge. Eddie tells them to hurry, as the Sang has probably been kidnapped. Sanjak swears to kill a Pak Sing who took these women and asks where they might have taken them. Eddie suggests they might be hiding them in the nearest village. The scene shifts to a castle with people at the entrance watching as others pass by. The Sink is held hostage among the nobles. The fat man says that unfortunately, it didn't. School wasn't with the group. Another man says it's fine because it didn't. Scale will come on his own. Looking at the Nike asks where the amazing prince is. The knight says he should have cut his neck before the Baron agrees, saying to hang this man at the castle and send the rest to prison. The Sink shouts at the Baron and asking if he really thinks he'll get away with this, warning him that Ark will punish him. The Baron grabs her face, saying if Ark were alive, the world would be like this. He tells her to stop praying to a false god and maybe start serving him. At that moment, someone puts a sword to his neck. Turning around he sees it's one of his men, but it's actually at Dinsdale saying he would sacrifice people for the Baron's greed anymore. The Baron realizes his plan is ruined. The fat man orders everyone to kill a Dinkle, but some yak appears asking why he thinks Ed is alone. He warns everyone that those who resist will be killed. Seeing Giant kneeling, he says there's no need to pretend anymore to end this. A few seconds later, both barons are immobilized, saying the prince will regret this. Eddie approaches, saying he gave them a chance to serve the people. Drawing his sword, he declares that from now on, the barons recognize the seal on the sword. He raises it in the sky, saying he will rebuild the kingdom. Jalha and his gigantic god form observes everything from above. The second mission to banish all evil is completed. Now the third mission is to start the kingdom's foundation. He helped Prince Eden's school and Messenger Celine regain their positions. Now he needs to expand the survivor base to build a new kingdom. She hesitates, receiving many missions at once. He also receives mission 3-1. Make a contract with the saint. This will help gain the people's trust without meaning prayers. Mission 3-2 is to prove the qualities of a king. They didn't. Skull has received the seal of the king, but needs to prove his qualities. Additionally, he needs to clear the other monsters in Mount Apito and find a specific location. As a reward for all these missions, he will receive the sanctuary. Jihad is confused, wondering how a sanctuary will help expand the place, and the location is probably covered by the mist. But now that he has contact, he can pass the missions through the Oracle. He receives a notification that the Griffin raid is also complete. Seeing the happy Terra drones, he says he needs to deal with that first. Smiling, he tells them to discard the Griffin corpses and start moving all the essences to the garden. However, one of the items they found was Griffin eggs. Jihad is exhausted, having received many missions, events, and now some eggs on top of it all. The system notification appears again, and he wonders what's happening. Now it's a notification that the Terra drones found a rare material called Dimitral, and now the worker-class Terra drones have been added to the army. Seeing the cute creatures, he says it's great. He picks up a Terra drone with a little hat. That worker class specialize in gathering, mining, and crafting items. They can even collecting metal cube. The little worker shows in one, saying he mined it. Reminding the first year receives a reward and can choose one of the abilities, a meaning-class artifact, or doubling the number of worker Terra drones. Graya thought all the options looked good, but he was more curious about the artifact. As soon as he clicked a purple energy form in front of him, and suddenly a dagger appeared in his hand. It was a high-quality Dimitro knife. The 30 elemental resistance would be good to help him survive. However, he remembered some Yuk who had low resistance. At that moment, the knight appeared. Anja asked how he was. The knight was feeling proud because his wings were now covered in Dimitrio. Shiva told him he couldn't monopolize everything and get strong. Alone that he looked toward the village, wondering what was happening there. The people were gathered around a campfire, celebrating and praising Eddie for his good work. While Sonia complained that you haven't known about the kidnapping plan nearby, the two barons were still in prison, and Eddie announced that they would be exiled from the village tomorrow. Someone said that was too generous because they might return, but Eddie replied that generosity was a necessary trait for a leader. Sunjuk, frustrated, sent Eddie was too kind to be a king. However, his friend put a hand on his shoulder, saying he would always remember his advice. Giant then mentioned that the biggest problem now would be food, since they relied on hunting, and he suggested that the best plan would be to open a trade route with the north and negotiate with the elves. At that moment, Selena appeared, calling for the prince. He asked if something was wrong, and she said he needed to see something. Selena Vienna prays, surrounded by a blue aura. She raised her hands and a golden message appeared. Giant explained that it was written for the royal family and directed by the apostle. Selena approached and said that this was what the oracle had said. Eddie thought about the apostle of God, while Jim was pleased that Selena was completing all the missions. Mission 3.1 was completed, and now he could communicate freely with her. Some year commented that it might have something to do with the beetles, since both had a golden light. Selena asked about the beetle, and he explained that the creature saved him in the middle of the battle. Sonia told Selena to inform her god that there was a lost guy here. Smiling, she said she would try to find a way to help him return to where he came from. Seeing this conversation, GPS said it was enough for today, and that you would provide more information tomorrow. He told the Terror drone that the day was long, and he still had a lot to do. He called BM and Growler. We go back home. But then you remember he was still in Bahina. BM called him, making him confused, and he noticed something that caught his attention. The Griffin hunt had yielded much more essence than he had imagined. At that moment, in the Griffin dungeon, Suellen's group was following the tips they had received. She opened the book and conjured a web of leaves. The paper started sticking to the eyes of the flying griffins, and everyone charged in to finish them. Off Hydrogen activated a sword surge slicing through them in the sky. The group found it too easy until the knight noticed something on his back way, and conjured a giant fireball, and the poor creatures ran desperately fearing for their lives. She was excited, saying it was very easy. The guys with burnt hair complained they would go bald in her group. Then everything started to shake, and some stones above them began to fall. When they hit the ground, a cloud of dust rose, and everyone covered their faces. Hydrogen asked what it was. In front of them, the cave had opened. They entered, wondering it was a secret dungeon. Hadroin said it was best to take a quick look and return as soon as possible, but Ryan wanted to rush in and finish everything because she was confident. Kaiju convinced her, saying an unknown dungeon was extremely dangerous. White-haired guy tried to calm her down, saying there was no need to hurry. Strangely, he stepped on something and stumbled, falling like an idiot in front of everyone. A girl came to heal his head. Suddenly Su Yang stepped in front and told everyone to get out. She recognized the pattern on the ground. It was the same circle they had encountered last time back at the castle, at 2. Barons were being expelled. They might. Asked if they were sure, and Giant said to just continue. Graham warned that the prince would regret this, but Against Gold just watched. He approached and called for the Baron, drawing his sword, saying he would give him another chance. He outpaced the sword on the Baron's neck, warning him to stop risking his life. He told him that his neck would be cut if he messed with those people again. With that, he turned to the knights and said they could go. The 2 barons ran away in a panic. However, Graham looked back and muttered that Dan had installed would pay for this. Some have expressed his dislike for this attitude, and he seemed confused. And Sonia said that Giant mentioned the boy was too soft. But John was just watching everything, thinking that the king was a good person. Being able to help someone like that made him happy. He decided that he would have to use the guide of the god apostle. There were many creatures on that mountain after the ogre's death, and it wasn't wise to take risks. He clicked yes, saying it would help them navigate. He looked at the Terradrome and said he was counting on him once again. At that moment, a portal appeared in front of the gate, and the Terradrome began to emerge in front of everyone. However, the creature was even larger than before. The 2 realized it was the work of the apostle that Selena mentioned. With that, the Terradrome pointed knight. They immediately turned to the other knights and said they would follow him on the way. They were sure it was related to the Griffin Valley incident. However, Sonia just wanted to know when he would get a decent sword. Suddenly the Terradrome stopped and stared at a mountain. He extended his arm and they wondered what he was doing when he struck the mountain, creating his shockwave impact that made them cover themselves. They soon realized the Terradrome's attack had broken a camouflage barrier some in. He excluded the creature, telling it to warn them before doing something like that. But Eddie told him not to be harsh because the creature meant well. With that, the Terradrome flew away. The knights approached asking if they were okay. Sonia told the prince to stay back while he and Diane checked it out. The old man was reluctant, but Sonia insisted that they couldn't let the prince. Such a risk. They started walking into the cave until Giant saw something, and Sunyak smiled. They found a cache of resources that the 2 nobles had hidden from the village. He informed Eddie, who said it would solve the food problem for a while. The car was loaded and Eddie told them to be careful of monsters. Sonia exited the cave complaining he hadn't found any weapons. Again, he said that now everything seemed resolved, he should start looking for a way to get back. At that moment someone screamed up ahead. One of the men was on the ground begging to be saved while everyone else ran. What they saw was a gigantic roller. The prince and Sung Yuk stood in front of the man to protect him. However, they were unsure if they could defeat the creature. Greller bared his teeth and Eddie said he would go to the right, but Sunyak told him to stay put, saying a prince must care for his people. Jason Growler. Sonia told Eddie to flee and ordered the citizens to leave the area. As Eddie looked back, he prayed for someone to survive. The swipe from Growler exploded the ground, but Sonic was confident, saying it would be just an exercise. However, a strange window appeared before him. The test of the howl had begun, and he had approved his strength. Suddenly, Growler leaked toward him, while some Yuck was staring at the system. And they're like an idiot. He noticed his shadow above him just in time. He barely managed to block the attack with his sword. Realizing the fight wouldn't be easy, he had to drop the paw and roll to the side to avoid being crushed. He muttered that it was too difficult. If this was the test, it looked like he would have to get serious. He activated the Aether and his sword and Growler with a red aura stared him down. Without fear, Sunyak rushed forward, instead of attacking head-on. He slid under the creature's belly and quickly reached its hind leg. With a swift move, he aimed to cut the leg, but the agile dog managed to dodge. Sunyak was surprised by its intelligence and took a heavy blow, getting thrown to the ground like trash. Realizing it wouldn't be easy to deal with such strength, he noted that the creature was at least disaster level. Meanwhile, the card group had encountered a horde of goblins. Giant and Eddie were at the front, telling everyone to hold on until they reached the village. They knew they urgently needed a way to help Songkyuk. Chika having exhausted the apostle's ability, was unsure what to do next. A window indicated that he couldn't intervene in this quest because something crucial was happening. All Jihad could see was a mist. He had no idea that Side Growler was attacking Sunyak. The poor guy dodged again. That was getting increasingly worn out. He wanted to know where that window came from and what this Howl test was. Activating an agility ability on his feet, he advanced for a Growler, but this dog was too clever. Easily dodging him, Sanjak tried to move to the side. The monster anticipated his strike, however Sonya kind of tricked up his sleeve and used a quick movement ability. Just as he was about to strike down, the cutting dog easily dodged to the side. Now he was off balance with no way to recover. He took another swipe, this time smashing him into a tree. The poor baby fell to the ground like a fool. Growler said he was too weak compared to the previous generation, and wasn't prepared for the power. You could receive some. You slowly tried to get up, saying it wasn't over yet, and asking the dog to wait a moment, but Growler just raised his paw, saying he was too weak for this. I thought someone would do something, but the poor guy was just crushed, helpless on the ground. He couldn't react as Growler approached, swinging his sword and saying he couldn't die yet, but the dog simply bit the sword. At that moment, he realized his chances dropped significantly. However, the timer hits 0 seconds, and he had passed the test. Rather smiled, saying he was getting too soft. It's left Sonya completely confused with the golden aura. Growler said that someone was just a peasant, born with a certain destiny, and this was the opportunity given to him. The energy condensed, forming the sword, and as it approached Sunyak, Growler said he would now carry the creatures. Game Sonya found it strange with the sword which was once his was there. He knew he had found it in a dungeon long ago. So how did this happen? However, he recognized the sword well and raised it to the sky shining. He wondered if this god really existed as the saints said, then hear his scream and realized it was time to go back and get out of this haze. He started running, saying he would save Eddie. With that, Jill was notified that the quest is over, and that Greller was returning like before. He returned his cute little dog. She happy to see him held him in his arms. Now without the energy he was smaller, and Jesus said he was even cuter. He petted him, saying he had missed him. Meanwhile in the forest, the goblins were being slaughtered. Eddie's group was almost at the village when Giant told him to look back because someone was coming. I thought it was Sung Hyuk, but it was actually an army of goblins. Off with red energy, Eddie turned to fight, knowing things would get more dangerous if the creatures entered the village. He easily killed several goblins while the goblin lord was pounding on the village gate. Inside, everyone was holding the gate, trying to prevent the creature from entering. But slowly the gate was breaking, and the goblins outside were eager to charge in. The creature raised its mace, concentrating a purple energy at that moment. Felt something strange. It looked to the side, sensing danger approaching, but it was too late. Sonya could already passed it, and he was surprised to see his friend had arrived, and half of the goblin lord's body fell to the ground. Sonic smiled, asking if Eddie had been waiting for him, now excited with his new sword. He was on top of a wolf. The remaining goblins, Flood and Fear, and Eddie asked where he got a wolf and a sword. Sonya have explained that he was recognized by that wolf. He dismounted, saying he would show what he meant. He touched the sword to the creature and said to cancel the summoning. It dissolved into the air and returned to the mark on the sword. He explained that the giant wolf they had seen before was actually his guardian. He almost died, but in the end the wolf said it was his destiny and gave him the sword. He explained that the only strange thing was that this was the same sword he used in another world. This meant there was also a way for him to return to where he came from. Eddie said it made sense for him to have a guardian since the gods would never support an evil person like him. Suddenly, the gate opened, and they turned around. It was said Selena at running and asking if Eddie was okay. He said he was doing very well, and they had managed to drive the goblins away. Most importantly, they also found a lot of food. The princess thanked the prince for his hard work, while some of you complained that he deserved thanks too since he worked much harder. The state replied that it was nothing more than payment for the blasphemies he committed. Eddie told them to stop joking and come inside because everyone was hungry. With that, they headed back to the village. Jakiha, observing, noted that everyone seemed to have made it home safely. Looking at Growler, they said they should also head back, since you must be tired. They crossed the portal and Jadad called for Beam, who came happily. He showed Growler, now much smaller, to Beam, who promptly bit Growler's neck and carried him away, saying he finally did a good job being in place. Growler in a cave and told him to focus on recovering, even giving him a gentle pat, to which Growler grumbled, telling him to stop being so friendly. And Beam called Jihad over. This time he wanted to lie down on Jihad's lap. And Jihad said it had been a long day for everyone. They would talk to Hygiene about everything tomorrow. At that moment the plant began shaking, indicating a customer. She returned to the shop, asking who it was. It was someone's group of adventurers telling him to open the door. He found it strange that they were there so late at night. When he opened the door, he saw Wei-in and Hygiene with them. Huyin immediately confronted him, asking why it took so long to open the door, and he said he wasn't doing anything important. However, he invited everyone in, saying it was cold outside. At the table, he asked about their sun visit. Soon Young showed a drawing of a marking they found previously. He recognized the magic circle and asked what the problem was. Hygiene. They also found that marking in the Griffin dungeon has caught Gio's attention, since the Terra drones also fought the Griffins. Guyan mentioned using an incredible ability that helped them find his secret passage. The group said it was mostly by chance, and everyone merely died because of it. Chica suddenly stood up and said he needed to ask a favor from everyone. He started to leave, and the group was eager to know why he was so excited. Yeah, began counting from 1 to 7, and the group heard a cry for help. He reappeared at the door, asking for help because it was very heavy. He brought a bunch of essences and told each of them to take one. Leon was shocked, saying she had never seen such large essences. Jihad explained that if they placed these essences on the circle, they could create a portal to Gehenna. He asked Hygiene if she could lead the mission, and she, feeling emotional, said yes, she would definitely do it. Sometime later, they were back in front of the cave. The group once again advanced along the same path around the tree. The grass was growing now in that there were no more monsters. Shiva told Beam that maybe the village people could live there. The only big problem now was Mount Apido. You hadn't expected so many creatures to flee from there for an attack. Something caught his attention. Strangely, only Eddie and Sunyak left the village to confront the monsters. Of course, Sunyak immediately raised his sword, and the conversation was not going to be long. Eddie told him not to lag behind. And with that, Sunny's wolf started to appear. He named his creature Little Wolf. Girl remarked that the boy didn't know how to name pets, which made Beyond look unfounded. With that, he gave the order to advance. Their destination was now to reach the Elven Wild Village. Along the way, they killed all the orcs. Gio was impressed, having forgotten that Sonya was the #1 hunter. Eddie in school was also quite formidable, easily cutting through the works. He turned and called for Eddie. Just then an overlord was about to strike, but Eddie concentrated and swiftly sliced off all the over his fingers. He told Sonya to move ahead, assuring him he would follow right behind. He had to deal with the group in front of him. Suddenly, a shadow covered him. The orcs looked terrified. The Terra drone had arrived, quickly grabbing Eddie by the cape and running off, leaving the orcs in the dust. Sengyuk said that the god was too kind, helping even when things were easy. However, Gio was smiling, saying there was no reason to waste time. With that, the two advanced through the waterfalls from above. Eddie thought to himself that Mount Apedo was larger than he had imagined. He wondered if that was really where the village of the Wild Elves was located. Looking down, he could see Sonya was close by. He turned to the Terradrome, saying it was very kind. When the creature accelerated, he asked it to go a bit slower. After a while, they arrived at the poor guy was exhausted. Sonic and Little Wolf laughed at his expense. Before they could thank the terror drone, it flew away. Sonya faked it and recalled Little Wolf. He wanted to know why they were brought to the elves' village, if he knew nothing about negotiation. Eddie said he would handle that part, but wanted to see if the elves knew a way to send some yet back. This was because the wild elves were the oldest and wisest. Sungyok laughed, saying it seemed his friend really wanted him to leave. Suddenly, an arrow struck the ground in front of them, and Eddie said they seemed pleased to see them from atop one of the trees. An elf told them to stay put. Eddie explained that they were survivors from the village on Mount Apido, and just wanted to talk. However, the elves weren't keen on conversing, stating they no longer talked to humans. Eddie went to draw his sword, startling Sangyuk, who questioned if he was crazy. Eddie drew the blade. Remaining silent, the entire group of elves aimed at them, making it clear they wouldn't get out of this easily. Sungiv asked Eddie if he was sure they could win. Eddie introduced himself again as identical Prince of the Kingdom of the Strand, and else descended from the tree, and Eddie showed him the sword, saying he could check the seal to confirm his identity. The elf, angered, said this proved Eddie was with poorer Jack and Groom. Immediately, the two clashed swords, each blade at the other's neck. The elk warned Eddie to let go or he would die. Eddie replied that he knew what the two barons had done and was there to fix it. The elf retorted that he didn't believe him, since the barons had stolen their food and killed their people. Eddie dropped his sword and told someone to do the same, leaving him confused. Eddie ordered him to obey the elephant, ordered them to be blindfolded and taken to the village. The two were carried away by the legion of elves. Not knowing where they were being taken, the tribe members pointed and whispered about the newcomers. Summit muttered that it would have been better to show their strength before negotiating, but Eddie told him not to worry. He believed the elves were rational and would give them a chance to talk before things got out of hand. However, the elf shoved Sunyak, telling him to stop talking. They arrive at his cell and the gray-haired elf ordered them to be imprisoned, giving them a kick. Sonya grumbled that it would have been better to stay in the village than be humiliated like this. Eddie insisted that he should calm down, and assured him everything would be resolved. Sonic decided to sleep, seeing no immediate solution. The gray-haired elf observed them, while Eddie wondered what the barons done to the elves. After some time, some elven children came to look at the two, amazed since they had never seen humans. Guards arrived and cleared them out. The gray-haired elf brought the elder to talk to them. The elder ordered their release, confusing the gray-haired elf. The elder explained that if they wanted to escape, it could break the bars at any moment. He asked Adinkle if he was right. Eddie was puzzled by the elder knowing his name. The elder recalled him from before they lost contact with the kingdom of Estrin. Approaching, he asked why they were there. Eddie said that before discussing that he wanted to know what the barons had done. The elf placed a dagger to his throat, telling him to stop lying. The elder combed Cordell down, and Eddie said he didn't know what they had done, but was there to take responsibility. The elder, confused, asked if he really had no idea about what happened. The prince explained that they also face hardships in the village, because those guys had food there. It was only recently that they found a lot of things hidden in Mount Apago. The elder, confused, said he believed that place was full of monsters. Sungate mentioned that they had dealt with most of the monsters with the help of a giant beetle. Obviously there were still some creatures, but their numbers were much lower than before. Both found it strange since the barons had gone nen when they delivered the food. It explained that when he exiled the barons, they seemed to have some kind of backup plan. Cordell said they couldn't trust him as he might be deceiving them. It explained it was a misunderstanding and all he wanted was to reopen the trade line and also deal with the monsters. Cordell questioned what trade he was talking about. Ed mentioned the minerals they had been sending in exchange for food. Son, you have been remarked that it seemed those Prostans had deceived both sides. The elder commented that if this was true, it meant there was some other third party involved further north. However, he warned that they couldn't trust them as both could be lying to take more food from that place, and asked what they had to do to prove their innocence. The elders said they should bring the minerals they were supposed to have received. Then he said the guy from the other world would go and fetch them while Ed would stay there. Confused, Sunyak asked how he knew he was from another world. The elder explained that all elves were connected to the mother tree, and that people like him from other dimensions had appeared several times in history. Sunyak smiled at Ed, saying they really did know something, and told the elder he would handle it right away. The only thing he asked for was his sword back, since he might encounter some danger. Cordell was hesitant, but the elder nodded. Sun Hyuk was soon in the forest, and the elf brought his sword, warning him not to do anything foolish if he wanted to see the prince alive. Sophia Black, saying they shouldn't underestimate the prince or they would end up on the ground. They all replied that you would never lose to a human. Just then the strange breeze passed over them, and Sunyak smiled, saying that Mr. Beetle had arrived. Not alone, but with an entire group running a lot of essence, the elder was shocked to see that the workers of the World Tree still existed. Meanwhile, Geo wondered why a new area had opened up just now. The Wild Elven Village had been discovered. He received Mission 4, which was to uncover the secret of the Wild Elves. Once again, he had to clear the monsters from another region to gain access. Most of the calls were insecure and confused by the scene. Some Yuck was greeting a bunch of Terra drones that were bringing the mithril. Obviously, it was Jiva who had given this mission, telling the Terra drones to assist the prince and Sonia with whatever they needed. The Terra drone tossed a giant mithril ore into the elder's hands, making him question why the Terra drones were helping these two people. Sunyak said it was obvious they were helping, because there was no other reason for them to bring the mithril. Suddenly, the Terra drone pointed to the side where they saw some green herbs. The elder asked if it wanted those and the Terra drone nodded. She smiled, saying he had done a good job, and now it was time to bring Han back. A while later, Ed was also released, but the elf said he was just following the elder's orders. Ed said he didn't care about gaining their trust, since humans and elves, we just trade partners. Sangaya come, both of them telling them to calm down a bit, but the elf pushed him away, telling him to keep his dirty hands off. At that moment the elder came with edge sword and handed it to him. Ed said he wanted to ask the elder a few things. He asked about some Yuck arriving 3 years ago, and how they could make him return. The other question if he couldn't return the same way he came. As the World Tree should still be connected to that other place, it explained they found him by a lake for the first time, and believed the place he appeared should be near the royal palace. The elder suggested that might not be the case, as the connection of the World Tree begins at its root. A confused Ed asked what he meant by that. The elder explained that the tree in Sonic's world and the one in their world were connected by the same root. In other words, if you could follow the energy within the tree, he would likely find the passage. The route ends at Mount Apagado, which is why most people appear there from time to time. The elder mentioned that if he had a good relationship with the Terra drones, it might be worth asking them, saying that he must have noticed these beetles appear out of nowhere. It's because they are World Tree workers following the routes. Ed said it made sense since they once appeared right in front of the village and then thanked the elder, saying they were asked the beetles for help. The elder commented that the trade routes must be full of monsters. Ed said they didn't have many soldiers, but when resolved it over time, the elder then asked the Growler to assist them, saying that to ensure everything went smoothly, he needed to send someone trustworthy. Sangyuk laughed, saying the elder was very clever with that. No choice, and was sent with them. Ed thanked him and Sonic said he would help the weird one to socialize. The elder approached, saying his role was extremely important for the village's recovery, and they set off. They were riding on Little Wolf, but the poor creature had a hurry. They'd asked where they were going, since that route was different from the one they came by. The elf explained that the area was full of griffins, so it was better to use the underground tunnels. However, some Yak said the beetles had already dealt with those griffins. They all smiled, saying they would see if it was true. They arrived at a cave that was once used by the World Tree workers. When everything was safe, Sonic said it was great to have someone like Willy around. The elf told him to stop annoying him staying. He was only doing it because of the elder. He mourned that even though the place was safe, they shouldn't let their guard down. because you never know what might be lurking. It asked if the tree really existed. Since he always thought it was a myth, Growler said he didn't expect humans or nothing but the tree's dust to understand its existence. Suddenly, the sore Unsung's back began to glow. Growler asked to take a look at it. As soon as he unsheathed it, a blinding light enveloped them. Looking at the blade, Growler said it wasn't his imagination. It felt it. He explained that the sword was considered a divine instrument containing the power of the god. Arcsonic said he knew it was an incredible sword, but he wanted to understand why it was glowing. It was a sign that something in the cave required the sword. The scene shifted to Hoisine casting a fire explosion. They were facing a horde of skeletons, and she was clearing them out. One skeleton found a gap in the flames and lunged at her, but Hygiene intercepted and smashed all three. The group was puzzled by the endless number of monsters. They have been fighting for a long time, and it seemed endless. Wait and manically told everyone to step aside so she could finish them all at once. Concentrating all the energy in her staff, she told everyone to clear out. She unleashed a wave of lava sweeping through the cave. The exhausted group celebrated the victory. She boasted, saying down they had to wait for the skill cooldown. Suddenly, Hygiene screamed that something was behind her. She turned to find herself covered by a shadow, a skeleton enveloped in a purple aura, prepared to strike her down. She broke out in a cold sweat. The sight fortunately Hygiene stepped in and defended her just in time, but was thrown aside, crashing into a wall. Now the redhead was about to be torn apart. One of the group members rushed over, barely saving her from being sliced. The skeleton turned around. The group's tank called everyone to be cautious. Sun Young activated her paper glue spell. Sheets of paper began to surround the skeleton, blinding it. The knight asked if everyone was okay and fainted, apparently from shock rather than injury. The team had tried to wake her up, but she was sweating profusely. The skeleton managed to break free from the papers soon. Young said her magic wasn't strong enough. The healer rushed to Hygiene and asking if she was alright. Hygiene couldn't understand why such a high-ranking monster was there. Suddenly she received a blessing from the World Tree workers and obtained the Scroll of Change. Hygiene was confused about what it was. She was then surrounded by a green breeze. Her movement speed increased by 100%, and her attack speed by 50. Additionally, with the Victory Win passive, she can recover part of her health. Hygiene says she doesn't know what's happening, but now they have a chance. This happened because Gina spent essence to guarantee the effect for her. The group is surrounded by a barrier while she faces the boss. Jim knows that even with the buff he gave, it won't be easy. Fortunately, with the herbs he got from the elves, he can make more scrolls. The skeleton strikes the tanker's shield. The gray-haired guy asks Waylon if she's okay. She says yes, but she was caught off guard. He then turns and says they need to help because the two of them alone won't hold up. Angrily, she says she'll turn into ashes. With that, the two join the fight. The big skeleton almost hits Hygiene, who manages to dodge by jumping. Unfortunately, her sword can't penetrate the armor. The only chance is to hit the joints. Wait until Su Young that they need to create an opening for Hee-Jin once again. She activates the glue pages effect, while the skeleton raises the axe to hit Hygiene Wei, and then already prepared her magic. With that, the paper and fire will hit the magic together. The group wondered if they had managed to win, and Hygiene realized that even though the damage wasn't enough, it helped a lot. She activated her magic, which created several swords. She prepared to attack with the buff Jihad had given, and jumped, hitting him on the arm. The problem was that the attack didn't work. Now she was hanging in the air. Without any way to react, the skeleton hit her in the belly. Once again, she was thrown far away. The group was all confused. Not knowing how they would win that, Gray began spending essence again to try and help everyone. Buff windows started appearing for everyone. However, John knew that even this wouldn't help for long enough. From afar, he was just watching Hawaiian saying she was the last hope. Then a flash of light passed through the cave. The skeleton looked back, knowing something was coming. Sunny's little wolf bit its shoulder. Yahello was delighted because he knew who was arriving. While the skeleton tried to break free, someone jumped down. On the top of the cave, it was Sunny York with an angry face. The attack hit the same spot where the wolf had bitten, and the creature's arm fell to the ground. The group asked what that was, and Hoya knew very well Sonya had reappeared after 3 years. However, the boy was also downcast. Realizing it wasn't enough, the skeleton came to strike him with an axe. The attack exploded on the ground, creating a purple. Laura, while Summer's sword had the same glow, you noticed that Hagen was lying down being healed, and wondered why she was their way, and ran over asking who was really him. Confused, he wanted to know how everyone was there, but Hoyin said they had to solve that problem first. Despite the many questions, this time the skeleton raised the axe, or using a purple aura from the ground, several other skeletons emerged. The healer said she was doing her best, but Heejin wasn't waking up, so the two decided to protect her while the others dealt with the boss. Wei-Yin used her magic to kill the revived skeletons, while the knight tried to fight the skeleton. The skeleton retaliated, trying to strike Sunyak, who dodged and hit it on the arm again. The problem was that even a full attack left only a scratch. Sunyan said that if you couldn't cut it, they pulverize it and use an ability to destroy weapons and equipment. However, the skeleton counterattacked with the axe surrounded by purple energy. Once again, Sanuk was thrown to the ground, and the boys kept getting tossed around. This time, he didn't get up in good shape. The skeleton came to finish him, but now there was a crack in its shoulder. Sonia realized that the creature was at least at the disaster level, and was running towards him. Waving took advantage to create an explosion. She could hit full on, but the monster didn't seem to back off. Once again, it faced Sangyuk. The sin-cursed purple energy was reversing the entire cave. After the explosion, the place was full of smoke and Sonia almost got hit in the head by the axe. Ed, who appeared out of nowhere, had stopped the skeleton. Sanuk said he was very late, and heard someone say that the point was the center of the body. Ed realized it was the apostle's voice, and right after that he passed this information to Samyak. Graya was observing everything from above in his own world. Unfortunately, he could only use the blessing ability one more time. He prepared the ink, hoping for something good this time. Again, he wrote an enchantment in the book and got excited, saying this one was perfect for him. Suddenly, Sonia felt something. He received the blessing of the workers, a buff that made his attacks hit the target unconditionally for 5 seconds. Ed was having difficulty staying on the monster once more. He activated the aura and had to step back. Sonic was enveloped in a double aura and said that it was enough. Together with the wolf, he ran towards the skeleton. The first strike hit the belly, reaching the core. In one touch, the skeleton began to crumble and half of his body disintegrated. Watching the monster disintegrate, he wondered if it was over. Suddenly, all the other monsters also disintegrated into nothingness. She has celebrated the victory while Sanu fell exhausted to the ground. At that moment, Ed came over, saying he owed him another one. He helped him up, commenting that he seemed to know who those people were. Soon Young thanked him, saying they indeed knew Sinyak. The group gathered around the unconscious Hygiene. Suddenly, she opened her eyes and started crying. Seeing Sonia, she hugging with longing. He apologized for taking so long, but said he was back. Jihad in the beyond was emotional. On the Terradrome was confused. Then a window appeared for Jihad. The secret tunnel had been cleared, which would accelerate the restoration of the world. 3. From afar, our foot's cry could be heard. She wondered if our foot was another demigod. From the sky, a golden unicorn appeared. Beoln and Griller wondered how to capture such a fast creature. They began to think of plans, but knew none would work. The creature already seemed to be on another mountain, and they knew they had to stop it somehow. Suddenly, Gaia heard barking outside. As he approached, he asked what the two were doing there. And a strange golden light passed by him. He saw it looked like a horse, and must be a demagogue by the way that he reacted. He remembered this creature was the mount of the god Ark. Watching from the mountains, he wondered if he should try to talk to it. But Ark was too fast, and soon disappeared from sight. Gray could barely see the creature's movement. Suddenly, Ark stopped and stood face to face with J-Head. The next second it ran towards him. She was startled as theoretically he had never been seen this way before. Suddenly it seemed he woke up back in the forest. It was as if the god Ark was calming the monster, which relaxed in the middle of the field. She had approached and gently petted it, saying it was very cute. From afar, the two beasts wondered what name Jihad would give the creature. Jai took the pony to the garden and said its name would be Penny. The creature ran off, probably annoying by the horrible name, knowing he could make something good with them. He thanked Penny and gave it a bunch of carrots from behind the trees. Him and Griller were just watching. Art got a bit annoyed, telling them not to come near the carrots. They argued for a bit and then all sat together under the tree. She took the herbs, thinking of making red ink. He imagined that color symbolized strength and aggression. Maybe he could create some kind of weapon with it. After some time, the ink was ready. Lying down, he wondered what he would tell everyone when they saw the pony. The next day, back at the shop, Gear realized he couldn't keep so many creatures there. Suddenly, a gate appeared. Curious, he looked and saw it led to a grassy field. Strangely, the gate had an infinity symbol above it. He guessed it was something from the tree. Then sung, "You can hide." Jung entered the shop. She was very happy and welcomed them. Sonia had no idea who he was, but he knew the name Jiha. Hygiene thanked him for all the help. He said it was nothing but hygiene, insisted she didn't know how to thank him. Grega said it was good they were there, and invited them for tea. That's when she asked about the pony. She questioned where he got it, and as always he said he couldn't tell. They chatted, and he found out Sonia talked a lot about the other dimension. For Jihad, letting him know his soldier is taking the monsters to the sanctuary. Because of that, the blessing of the world tree and the fauna skill level up. He gets more stats, plus the ability to interpret ancient languages. On top of that, there's a new observation skill that lets him figure out how to unlock new abilities, which leaves him a bit confused. The system explains that it's an active ability, and will completely drain. When he uses it, she gets that it's kind of complicated, but assumes it must be some sort of ultimate skill. Like always, it probably awakens in the creatures, and he wonders if it might work with the Terradrones too. That's when he realizes that the skill the creatures and Terradrome awaken is absorption. After they kill another creature, there's a small chance they can steal one of its abilities. But Jihei, being the nicest guy out of all the hunters, is already thinking about how you could help other hunters gain new abilities with this power of his. That boy's honestly an angel. And of course, his first plan is to share a tip with his closest friends. Right? Then the system asks if he wants to transform 500 essences and unlock the sanctuary, and he accepts. Immediately, the mist starts fading away, and he heads straight for the mountain, realizing he can now interact with it directly. But the moment he tries to touch it, a warning OU saying that the earthquake damaged the sanctuary and it now needs 100 essences. Man, just a little tap from him shook the whole mountain. He realizes he'll have to spend the essence since he's the one who caused the mess. He was planning to plant some things in the sanctuary, but the system tells him he has to toss in some worms first, because the soil is terrible. But suddenly Terradrome taps him on the shoulder, and he sees that everyone's already out there hunting worms. These little guys work hard, I swear. Gio thanks his little buddy, and soon after he unlocks another area. Back-to-back gains here. Sure, in the last few chapters he worked like crazy and hadn't earned anything for a while. The mist keeps clear in, but then a weird red thing shows up. It's some kind of mantis mixed with a shrimp. He remembers the news saying these creatures were classified as terror level. Now he's not sure if the terror drones can even handle something this strong, but the little guys charge right in to hold it back. Jabal's head is stunned. They're already pulling up their shields, going in full with confidence, but one of the shrimp grabs them and slams them into the ground, sending the poor things flying. He's shocked they're getting beaten so badly, but the brave little guys chub their potions and head back into the fight. Benja suddenly has an idea. He remembers the World Tree Fruit Elixir sitting in the cabin. He throws the whole batch into a big pot for them. The creatures drink it down and immediately get buffed. Leave charged. The knight goes in first. This time though, the mantis shrimp Posque launches a barrage, but the knight raises his massive shield, there's an explosion, smoke everywhere, and then he bursts out of it. A shrimp is shocked, and the knight tears through, smashing about 5 heads in a row. Shigot can't believe how effective the elixir is. And with this boost, the Terror Drone's victory is certain. After the battle, GM notices the creature glowing strangely. He congratulates everyone and wonders if the leader learned something new. The little guy nods and suddenly stomps the ground so hard the whole forest shakes. She instantly realizes the creature copied the shrimp's ability. He quickly grabs his notebook and writes down everything that happened. This time the notes revealed that the shrimp's weak spot is on its back. Sometime later, back at the shop, someone asks Jihad if he wants to go to the beach. He asked his friend when and the guy's already at the door. Pain right now. Let's go, we're on fire. The creatures are all sitting on his lap looking adorable, while Jada looks back smiling, amazed at how good his life has been lately. Then Sonia asks where he got that pony from, and he casually says it was just from some random dungeon. She starts asking a bunch of questions when this came from where it came from, but they're already arriving at the beach. Greatsel takes in the blazing sun, feeling completely at peace, and later they have a nice little dinner. Later that night, he's out on the balcony, when the face one comes over saying she heard he'd gone out for a walk and came to check on him. She's standing there in a bikini, letting her shoulder strap slide down. I'm pretty sure that's a seduction technique, okay? Gria says he's surprised she came with them, and she replies that she hopes she wasn't a bother. He tells her, no more women the better yet, right? Like you actually say something like that. Curious now, he wants to know if her guide is coming too. She says they got jealous, so they should be on their way soon. Griga says they're good people, and she agrees, even if sometimes they're a pain. But suddenly an alarm blares behind them, and they both turn around confused about what's happening. An emergency alert appears, saying a terror level. Monster has appeared. The message repeats, warning that it's the infamous mantis shrimp. She has already prepared for these. The redhead tells him to stay sharp just as a barrage of fire comes flying at him, but the feisty one reacts immediately, using her power to raise something that shields him. Just another good day for him being saved by a woman. And right then, the rest of the squad shows up with shields in hand. The guys are shouting how bad the situation is. But Jiho's more worried about when one of them says the attack came from the sea. And that's when a giant claw bursts out. The whole mantis shrimp pack appears. Everyone raises their shields, telling each other to get ready. The redhead orders Jihad to run while she calls Prochulian for reinforcements. She knows there's not much she can do right now. He needs to go back to the hotel and grab a special item to help with the fight. Back at the beach, another blast from the monsters comes his way, but one of the guys shouts that he's about to use a buff for everyone with their power boosted. He uses his skill to raise his defense and draw aggro, while everyone rushes in and starts slashing at the creatures' backs. But the white-haired kid gets startled on the big shrimp, raises its claw and slams him right in the chest. The poor guy was flying backward, hitting the ground hard, while Gio's friend pulls out the origami book and tries something. She summons 36 paper planes and some torpedoes, all heading toward the monster, while more shrimp advance toward the city. Suddenly a massive fireball hits the creature, Sunyani just standing there confused, but obviously it was her. The hottest one there, everyone shouting as if Phoenix appears. Fire raging everywhere, even the guy with the blade is having fun slashing away like it's nothing. But of course when a random stranger shows up, it's just to get vaporized. Looks like he lost his arm in the chaos. Rocks are flying everywhere, smashing into everyone. What the hell? It's like the Beast Titan just showed up. One stop from that monster, and everyone's joy is gone. The shield guy is in shock and Wayans. Frozen. I'm not even sure what to do. The system warns that the creature is hostile toward all humans. Then even more shrimp start crawling out from beneath it. The so-called king raises more rocks, and yeah, this is Beast Titan level for real, and rains them down on the army. The poor guy tries to block what's basically the dinosaur extinction meteor with his little shield. Obviously, it doesn't work. He gets smashed into the ball right behind everyone. He's completely wrecked, and the others start thinking they don't stand a chance, but Huey tells them to stay calm. If it's not them, who's going to stop this thing? She says she'll block the attacks with her flames and tries to create a fire barrier, but the aquatic beast Titan throws another volley of rocks, draining the last of her mana. Another extinction level strike is coming down right on her, and she realizes she won't be able to put up a barrier. Time. But don't worry, Terra Drone just arrived to hold the line, and this time Geo shows up in style, riding on its back. He asks if she's okay, and before she can even answer, a Tosa potion into her hands. She's not sure what it is, so if he explains it's an elixir, and tells her to drink it and head to the hospital for a top Terra Drone. Draca takes in the situation, and he believes that with these lies, he actually has a chance to win. At the very least, he had to hold out until reinforcements arrived. Terra Drone charges and head on, and we get a quick flashback to 10 minutes earlier when Yahello was grabbing the potions back at the hotel. The plan was to get to the beach as fast as possible and support everyone, but on the way a huge gust of wind hit, and that's when the big guy showed up. It's insane how massive these creatures are in real life. Back in the fight, the Shrimp King starts charging another energy attack, but Terra Drone smacks and hard. Everyone's standing there with their mouths wide open and total disbelief, while the poor guy who got blown up earlier is busy chumming down his potion. The system then warns that the shrimp is enraged. Problem is, you can't really have a shrimp boss and keep everything balanced. Those two things don't coexist. Carriage Run charges again straight at the meteor combo, which could wipe everyone out. Cheers off of the side, casting like he's Ronald Dino, making that crazy curved shot. The monster though keeps combining his stone attacks. Terra Drone braces himself once more, and uses a vacuum wave attack. The strike hits the shrimp dead on. There's a massive explosion, and for a second it looks like the creature got completely blown apart. Wei and can't believe actually worked in one hit, but immediately tells everyone to take cover, because now even more rocks are raining down. Sure, one of the shrimp's arms and a huge chunk of it are gone, but it's still standing there. Gadrai from a distance shout for everyone to focus on the smaller creatures, while he takes care of the boss and Hoyan agrees. Meanwhile, Jihad is acting like a pocket healer, just tossing heals. Everyone's backs. He knows there are still around 14 shrimp left, not counting the boss, so they're going to need a proper strategy. At least the smaller ones are more confused now that the boss took heavy damage, and with them distracted, if it's way easier for the hunters to charge in and tear through them. Especially with Huey, and heating things up and spinning out a massive fire tornado. The Origami Queen is darting back and forth, and Gia is honestly impressed. His friends are stronger than he thought, but things are going a little too smoothly. An alert suddenly announces that a cricket has appeared. The giant-eyed monster rises from the water, and if the shrimp was big, this tentacle is about 15 times its size. Greycow knows there's no way they can beat something like that. But then if that thing is huge, look what shows up behind it. About 50 times bigger, she immediately recognizes it as the World Ear. Still, he figures it won't be that simple to just swallow the kraken. Those tentacles have suction cups and will cling to the ground. At that moment, Terra Drone begins charging up an aura attack, while the cricket is busy absorbing energy from the shrimp. It's just devoured. It's basically a whole feeding chain going on, like a bizarre train of monsters. Assurance being eaten by the Kraken's getting swallowed by the World Eater, and Terra Drone is blasting the World Eater at the same time. The Kraken never stood a chance. Its huge body disappears straight into the World Eater's mouth. Gone in one gulp. Everyone on the beach starts cheering. Chuya from atop Terra Drone praises him, saying he did a great job. Incident resolved. Everyone is sent to the hospital. Now Jihad's still there. Not just the one who carried the fight, but the one cleaning up afterward. To even Wei and comments that he's already done more than enough and shouldn't be the one tidying things up. But she's way too curious. She wants to know what that giant beetle he was riding really is. She brushes it off, saying it's nothing, he just happened to find it along the way, but she clearly isn't buying it anymore. Change the subject. He asks about Sung Hui, and she says that after drinking the potion and getting to the hospital, he was already basically healed. She's amazed at how good the potion was. Where did you even get one that strong? And once again, he just shrugs it off, saying he brewed a random potion and got lucky. But he knows for sure everyone's going to want another one like that later. Ron leans in a little, saying the biggest problem now is that Gino's vacation is completely ruined. She then suggests that if nothing else, there should at least go for a swim to make the most of it. But Jesua glances at the time. It's 4:21 in the morning, girl. Go to sleep. Wait, she has getting a little bold, he says. It really is a shame though that bikini looks way too good. She really should go for a swim. And wow, she's actually playing along. She asked if he really thought it looked good on her. But the scene suddenly shifts to something mysterious. Someone staring into a mirror, silently observing everything. And then the system chimes in, saying it's the king of the gods. Inside the card, his friend tells Jihad to go to sleep, saying you stayed up until 5, close your eyes and sleep. But Jihad just says, nah, I'm good, let's head back home. His friend shrugs. Alright then, let's go. Next thing we know, they're in the tunnel and then back at the shop. She has brought all the pets back. Thank God. Those pets, right? Sure, he adopted a drone, but he also dragged all those other creatures over there. And what did they do? Just slept in the room. Suddenly, his phone rings. It's Sonia. She says she's found something else she can't translate and asks for his help. She translates it and reveals that it's runic words of destruction. Something that causes critical damage to enemies. She's super excited, saying this must be another insane strengthening scroll, but Jihad just says it's nothing special. She insists she try it out, and he promises he'll save one for her later. Then he grabs his book and writes about the ruins she just shared. The pages glow and transform into a scroll of physical damage enhancement. Be the most humble man in Korea. We have immediately thinks that if he could give this to everyone, all hunters would become stronger. But then he worries, if the hunters get stronger, won't the monsters get stronger too? Yeah, it makes sense. If they take on riskier dungeons, tougher monsters are bound to appear anyway, and that's inevitable. I think he and I came to the same conclusion. What matters is helping hunters grow stronger. She turns and looks at his creatures. All of them sleeping upside down, curled up in the cutest, weirdest ways that reminds him that it's time to finally get some rest himself. He closes the book. A few days later, Jihad is in the forest. He glances toward the mountain and is surprised to see something moving. His hygiene and her group. It's been a while since we last saw her. They're talking about some seal at the bottom of the ravine when Gina overhears them and gets startled. He remembers hearing that the creature in that region is legendary level and once destroyed part of China. The hunters seem a bit nervous, while Jiho watches from a distance, noticing that the bridge leading to the other side is completely broken. Thinking about this, he decides to secure the path first and orders Terradrome to fix it. From afar, the group hears hammering sounds, strange noises, and when they arrive at the bridge, they're confused. The place that had been destroyed just a while ago is now perfectly repaired and ready to cross. Everyone is happy about it. And with that, they make their way into the dungeon, where they explain that Toady is one of the 4 evil creatures of Chinese mythology. One of the hunters mentions that the mission is to find the creature's lair, but no one seems to know exactly what they're supposed to be looking for. She realizes they're just walking in circles. There's no way they'll find the creature like that. Suddenly, a strange aura appears in the middle of the room. A floating mirror shows up, and Jihad believes it's the key to finding the seal. Since the hunters don't seem to notice the mirror, he decides to move a rock to guide them somehow. Immediately feels something strange and turns around, confused. Then, out of nowhere, a portal appears with a giant finger coming out of it. Everyone is. Obviously freaked out, some here quickly infuses other into his sword and slashes at the huge finger, but no one else has any idea what he's even attacking. Apparently Sunyak was the only one who saw it, and Jihad's finger is now all red from getting smacked. At least the distraction he caused helped the others find the so-called mirror of sealing, but Songyuk is feeling a bit uneasy. Not sure if they can actually win this. Right, well how about just not going in, and that challenging this dungeon? Ever think about that? Just then a strange voice declares that humans are wick. Something slams into the ground saying they're fools for trying to awaken this beast. A shadow falls over the hunters, and 2 brothers appear, the guardians of the Shi-Gaining Temple. Everyone panics trying to figure out who these guardians are, while someone tells them to calm down. The guardian warns that they stepped into the temple without permission and must be eliminated, but someone just says help create an opening and tells everyone to cover him while he attacks. Poor guardian is still talking but completely ignored. The big guy finally has enough and launches a barrage of fire. And good lord, these monsters have such terrifying bodies. Sanjak dodges, leaps over the flames and strikes. A whip-like slash right across the neck, dropping them both to the ground. Damn. Just like that, in an instant, the system notifies Jihad that the Guardian took critical damage and is unable to move, meaning the quest is now complete. Jihad is impressed, just like he thought. Lord Sendyok really is powerful, but the little creatures in the background look a bit jealous, muttering that they could have handled it too. Rujia turns around. Everyone's gone. He realizes it's no time to just rest. It's time to start working harder to help these hunters. The most effective way to do that is by writing more scrolls, but you need some green herbing that only exists in the Wild Elf village. The problem is, he doesn't want to go there alone and risk being attacked again. The scene shifts back to that village from the beginning. There's that Saintly. I'd almost forgotten about her. She's praying. The full focus is always when her grandmother calls her by name. Selena. She lights up asking if it's Lord Ark's messenger, and he says yes. It's been a long time since they last saw each other, and apparently he already has the ink. What happened? Is it running out? Probably because he makes a few scrolls and says that should be enough. He speaks to her again, saying he has a favorite. Askily, he wants her to visit the Wild Elf village. Easy enough to just send someone else to work. What a little capitalist. She had explained that he needs green herb ink, and she seems a bit puzzled, asking if that's really at all. He says yes, but tells her to be prepared because the elves will be suspicious of her. That's why he suggests she offer them something in exchange, like good food, since they live deep in the forest. They usually don't have salt, so she can trade that something easy to get for the herbs. She says it's easy when he gives such clear instructions and thanks him. Right then, the SAP of salt materializes in front of her, and she answers confidently that he can count on her to get it done. She sets off with against school, which will make the negotiations much smoother. Do you ever remembers how the elves drooled when they saw his salt last time? So he's grinning now. He won't have to worry about green herb ink for a long while. Back in the forest though, if you'll wonders what's going on, all the terror drones are lying on the ground. We then see that recently dungeons have been popping up non-stop, but the strange thing is that the supposedly rare treasures inside have been extremely scarce. This time the guys were walking out with just a potion, the nugget and a bone scrap. It's hardly worth going into a dungeon anymore. And of course that means they haven't been able to gather enough either to level up. The hunters start losing interest in leveling up. Humanity gets weaker, and that turns into a vicious cycle that could eventually wipe humanity out. Shihab, being the responsible guy he is, takes this seriously and says they need to come up with a way to keep hunters motivated. He asks if the terror drones are ready and tells them they're starting the new plan. The little guys are already hard at work, completely organized, chopping wood, lighting fires, putting things together, building boxes. Turns out Jihad is making treasure chests to place inside dungeons for people to find. This guy is next level. Actual god-tier behavior. Who's Sung Jin Woo compared to this man? Sung Jin Woo farms dungeons. Grey Kaya creates the dungeon, Luke himself. He's just sitting there, smug farming aura while the creatures haul piles of treasure on their backs. Shiva starts wondering if these creatures have always worked this hard since the beginning of the world, but they seem to enjoy it, so he praises them for all their effort. Even so, he feels like it's still not quite enough to truly motivate the hunters, and he's not even telling us the best prize to put inside a chest. The legendary card that expands the size of the lowlands, something that technically doesn't even belong to this server. Right then, Giga seems to have a new idea, while the little creatures are just looking confused. Sometime later, in a dungeon, a huntress comments that the weather's really nice today. She tells Dickon to get ready, because this hunt is going to be a good one. He glances over with his shield strapped to his back, looking a bit president, but says he'll give it his best today. At that moment she notices something strange and gets confused. She comes across a notice board about Jihadi's card update. Project Giga's plan is to place boards in front of dungeons to inform hunters. Looking at it, they start wondering if it means they should bring a shield or if maybe it'll find a shield inside. Inside the dungeon, the girl complains that Geocom would have done better. He apologizes, but the others say they're just messing with him. Another monster dies while someone else teases Deacon again. Poor guy, he's basically getting bullied out here. Then a mole monster goes berserk because Dor comes shaken up and the girl has to step in and save him. He gets scolded once again. After they defeat all the mole monsters, she finally praises him. Total psychological warfare. On the poor knight, he's going to lose it at this rate. After clearing all the monsters, they finally reach Jehovah's treasure room. The hunters are confused, usually if there's just one chest, but this time there are 5, including one massive one. A notification pops up saying only 2 essences are needed to open each chest, and they cheer. Obviously, inside are special items, you're prepared just for them. One of them finds his son Apple, and recognizes it as the same item sold at Gia Potion Shop. The shield they find in another chest is handed to Dialcom. He's a little embarrassed, saying he hasn't been doing that well and hasn't been much help, but the others reassure him that this will help him do his job better in the end. They also find a strange scroll in his scented candle. While Deacon celebrates his new shield, everyone else is eager to take these last items and get them appraised. Jihad is celebrating with his helpers, telling them they did an amazing job. He's sure these hunters will be happy with this dungeon, and will want to keep running more. At this point, Greya puts on his cat mask to receive the customers. This guy really is the god of this world. He's everything. The one who makes the dungeon, the one who places the rewards, the one who kills the boss, the one who appraises the items, the one who sells the potions. What isn't he? He's not the guy with a harem of waifus, that's for sure. After the appraisal, the tanker receives the Iron Maiden ability, which boosts his defense by 200% per level. Everyone's blown away. This was one of those awakenings, one of those super rare abilities that Jihad can now help others unlock. Man, this skill is busted. That reflects 200% of the damage back of the enemy. Okay, sure it only works on physical attacks, but still, that's way too OP. Somebody better know this. The tank is crying tears of joy, saying he can finally deal with the monsters that attack him. Meanwhile, that bipolar friend of his, the one who's always turning her back on him like Thor, is clapping and cheering for him. She then explains that the scroll, that he had to kill a certain giant boarder to awaken the skill. The guy's overwhelmed, saying he's gonna give it a try and ask for more details about the other items. Ah, now it clicks. He found his scroll about awakening his ability, and guess what? Besides killing the boar, you also need a mysterious candle and Lord Arc Shield. The guy is thrilled, hands over his gold right away. Totally worth it now. It just has to sleep with a candle next to him. Inside the dream, he's surprised. It feels like he's inside some kind of virtual reality. He sees a lone knife fighting off a horde of undead and wonders why the guy isn't retreating. Shouldn't he be protecting his allies? But at the same time, he's amazed. This Meg is an unstoppable tank, charging forward without hesitation. Then he wakes up to a notification saying he's obtained the trait. Holly makes loyalty level 1. He's sitting there completely stunned, unable to believe the window appeared in real life, but now be sure he's gained a new power. The problem is he feels like his holy mate ability doesn't quite suit him, since he's a tanker. But in the end he knows the only way to truly figure out if it fits him is to test it in the dungeon, and at this point it's too late to turn back. Then the scene. That's to the news where they report on these extremely rare abilities, awakening and some hunters. Apparently the first person to awaken one of the strongest abilities ever seen is right there in South Korea. Because of this, the association everyone else is eager to see the outcome. Everyone wants to witness the full potential of these newly awakened powers. The tank is standing there, looking hesitant as always while the monster charges forward. Ignore him. He raises his shield, blocks the strike and gets pushed back. Now the boar is the one sweating. The system announces that the final ability has awakened Iron Maiden. The boar's suddenly surrounded by golden light, and boom. It's like the whole place explodes. Everyone's wide-eyed covering their faces, and when the smoke clears, there's nothing left in front of him. The only thing that appears is an angel. Picking something up off the ground and giving him a look, the tank wonders if that's the king of the gods. He also starts to understand why he has such a large body, and why he always hesitated to attack monsters. It was all part of the god's plan. At least that's what he thinks. Since he received a legendary ability that only defends, he literally has to get hit in order to strike back. I think that's what it means too. By co-analyzing this guy, now his friends are all standing there with their jaws on the floor, saying this new skill looks incredible, while the tank thinks he's basically in a state where he can farm aura just by praying. Smiling, he says he's finally found something better than any ability. The path he's supposed to follow. He raises his shield and reflects, thinking that this is the way. Obviously now the forms are buzzing. Everyone wants to awaken their own special ability. Meanwhile, Jatadas are carving a statue, grumbling about how hard the work is. Not long after the shield guy unlocked his skill, he had found a book in the garden, a book written by Lord Ark about dungeon structures. With that, Gia built some new contraptions to test out a few abilities. The book seemed like it could give buffs and information to hunters who cleared certain dungeons. Ah, I get it. It's basically like a little system. You leave it in the dungeon, and whoever passes through receives that information. I keep saying this guy is the world. The name of this story might as well be Gino's World. While he's excited to test it out, we cut to a group of hunters talking about their targets for the day. One of them is complaining about the monsters, while the girl says it's easy to dodge those snakes. Sonia, surprised and Jaeon asks what's wrong. They found the statue that is clearly, unmistakably, the spitting image of Selena, his left, wondering what on earth that statue is doing inside a dungeon. Right after that, we see them fighting the snake, slashing in every direction. Fighting near the statue seemed easier, as if it were giving them buffs and even healing them. Later that night, one of them liked a mysterious candle. Suddenly he wakes up inside a dream, where everything feels strange. Oh, Ire. And there's Eddie, talking away like always, puts a little smile on his face, not even noticing his friends around him. But then when he looks to the side, he sees something he doesn't recognize. A mysterious knight in golden armor. He smiles, thinking he'll gain a new ability if he defeats this guy. But suddenly there's an attack coming straight for his eye. He draws his sword and sparks fly everywhere, as the voice speaks. A Sunyak who's now fully armed and ready. He's knocked backward, totally confused about what this guy is doing. He tries to ask something, but the mic doesn't answer. Instead, he grips his sword and activates his aura. Then a voice echoes, saying that humans are too weak nowadays. Sanjak demands to know what this being means, and it warns them to prepare for what's coming. Suddenly, a silhouette of a monster appears, and some you have asks if that isn't Toddy. The knight only says that something terrible is approaching, and that humanity will be wiped out. Sonia finds it ridiculous, but then the knight introduces himself as the Sword of Master Ark. On top of that, he also reveals he is Commander Gamer, leader of the army that fought under Arko. And just like that, he activates some terrifying ability. Summoning a massive barrage of swords all around him, Sunyak readies an attack. Saying this Dan Magus talking as if but yes, he does know him. The knight reveals he has been watching Sunyak for a long time. He says Sun Yuk is one of the humans with the greatest potential, so he better get ready for what's coming soon. Give activates full body etherification. The voice says is acting because the god has appeared. Tongue wants to know who this god is, but the voice just says it cannot answer. Oh wonderful. Then Sunyak remembers Selena and asks if she's involved. The knight just tells him to shut up and fight already. That's the only way he's going to awaken. Sonic realizes this Puskin isn't going to answer anything, and then boom, the knight vanishes in a blur and strikes him mid-sword swing. They go at it. Blow for blow and honest clash. The knight throws his hand back and unleashes a wave of sword beams, but Sunyak gathers aura, closes his eyes and slashes out a massive strike in return. The knight however appears behind him in a fraction of a second, saying he's not half bad. He swings again with his Stormblade, and Sonya barely manages to block. He's pushed back, but that might gives him no time. Breathe unleashes a spiral-like attack, firing it straight at him. There's an explosion, and we cut back to Jill, who's brewing a potion in a cauldron, saying this one is going to turn out great. He seals the flask and celebrates while the little creature in front of him claps his tiny hands to congratulate him. Shiga says it wasn't anything special, but the little guy is shocked. This potion restores 200 stamina in 10 seconds. Even Gi himself is celebrating. He didn't think it would turn out this good. Meanwhile, the guy with glasses is just thinking, damn, this kid's a beast. How does this guy know the perfect timing for every ingredient without you using a timer? And every single time it's the exact perfect amount to fill one flask? Honestly, that looks like the easiest part of all. Then he says goodbye, telling Jihad he's heading out. By sucker. Later that night, Jihad is feeling proud of his potions. The next day, back in the forest, he finds it strange that his creatures aren't around, and wonders what happened. The bellflower starts raining, and he turns his head, wondering if something's going on. Right then, an explosion goes off somewhere else in the forest. The ground shakes as if an earthquake had started. Right where Toady was sealed, a voice speaks up, saying the seal is in danger, and the turd drums have been activated. There they are doing their little ritual, looking all serious, but Jiva noises that they're struggling to hold the seal in place. There's no way they can handle this alone. And suddenly, a massive paw slams into the ground. A disaster-class lion-like creature appears. Immediately, the terror drones take off into the air. I love how they always fly with that little wardrop look on their faces, like I'm trying my hardest. Gina starts looking around for Biam and Griller, whereas the whole squad and he can't just stand there, he needs to help somehow. So he starts brewing his made potions as he can. Awakening items, anything that might help. Altera Drone is out there gathering data and facing the creature to support the others. Then the scene shifts to the city, where two guys are freaking out because the giant portal has appeared, distorting everything around it. The guy gets an alert. His expression changes immediately. His friend asks what's wrong, and he says a massive problem has just arrived. The only thing deadlier than that portal is the cigarette that falls to the ground right then. Soon the news spreads, announcing that an Annihilation-class dungeon has appeared in Sector 7. They have 47 hours to resolve it, and Sonya, he's already there, saying it feels like someone's been praying for bad things to happen in this place. That's how many warnings they've gotten. He calls for the group and says at least they're ready for it. And sure enough, everyone's glowing gold. GM made sure to bless every single one of them. On top of that, Sonya perceives another high-quality potion from Jiha, one that boosts vitality and stats. Totally busted. He talks the flask away, saying they'll have to thank Jaya later, but for now, it's time to head in. Choria watches everything, surprised at how strong these guys look. For now, he decides to just watch the battle. The Terradrone army is standing by, ready for action. She figures at least the Black Lion won't be a problem for the hunters anymore. But Toddy, the legendary creature, that's a whole different story. He clenches his fists. Silently wishing the hunter is the best inside, Sonya horns everyone to stay alert. Danger is coming while the redhead works. The girl asks if those statues around them are the ones they mentioned earlier. Suddenly, a voice orders everyone to prepare their powers. The group chugs the potions, stunned by the effects, saying things like this potion just doubled my stats and my flames are way hotter. Now this job is going to be easy. Sonya grips his sword, gets ready, and then bam. Up on the mountain, I thought it would just be one monster, but there are 3 lions standing there. Some York warns everyone they're about to attack. Right then, the first one launches forward, swinging a massive paw, but Sunyak holds the line. He immediately shouts for everyone to charge in, and all 3 hunters rush into the fight. Man, honestly, for a second there I almost wanted to be the monster. Whoa. Flying sword dance, storm slashes cutting everywhere, sword surfing through the air of Phoenix, blazing hot, and that redhead is burning even hotter, sending firestorms and meteors exploding all over the place, while the tank activates some glowing purple skill to hold everything back. The beast. It's completely losing it. These hunters are monsters themselves. Who's buffing these guys like this? The creatures must be furious if they showed up to wipe out humanity. Someone out there is turning these hunters into overpowered demigods. Some have activates that same ability from the Dream Knight. And with that, the poor big lion is nothing more than trash on the ground. Didn't even get a chance to fight back. But then the ground shakes. Again, and another type of creature appears, a bloodline. Everyone freezes, panicking, wondering if they can handle something stronger than what they just killed. Of course they can. They're completely buffed to the max. The lion doesn't waste a second, already charging up a claw attack. Sony extends too, shouting for everyone to drink their potions and get ready. Hygiene yells, "No, Sonic Girl, what do you want him to do? Turn his back and die." The guy is building up aura. Honestly, you could write a whole story about this guy. Aside from the fact that he's tanking just because Greya's buffs are carrying him, he's literally the poster child of the system at work. The first strike comes some U-blocks with his sword to tank the blow, while the tank is chugging potions, saying they'll have to trust him to hold on for now. Some use trading blows. Crazy clashing, non-stop thinking he's the only one who can hold this monster back. Meanwhile, poor Hygiene is once again terrified he'll vanish or die somehow. Man, I wish I had someone that worried about me. Then she turns and orders everyone to search for information about the bloodline, while they recover. This is modern dungeon crawling. Can't kill the monster? Pull out a tablet and hit Google or ChatGPT. How do we kill the bloodline in Gate 7's dungeon? And Sonia just keeps holding the line, waiting for the prompt to load. Finally, the tank recovers and lets out a roar of the draw aggro. The lion turns its focus from Sunyak, and Sunyak leaps forward. Wait, did he just get crushed? Nope, he tanked it. Meanwhile, the archer beautiful shot lines up and fires. Green bazooka-like blast. The lion is scorched and it looks like it's dead. But just before it goes down, another beautiful strike. This group is too good for a second. I just wish I could be Sunyak, but no, the lion's still alive. Blood sprays everywhere. Oh no, everyone's shocked, jaws hanging open, but the blood was from growlers showing up going full gigant mode and smashing. Lion, another day where everyone depends on you. Dryha, no one gets through without the boy. Everyone stands there stunned, trying to understand what just happened, while Growler looms in front of them, towering. The girls are activating their powers, but hold up ladies, relax, you don't even have a chance. Growler just opens his mouth and unleashes a paradox. Instantly everyone freezes completely. Paralyzed. Then he smiles and says he's not their enemy. Hygiene asks what he is, and Sonia tells her to calm down. They ask if he knows this creature, and he says yes, he's the one who gave Sunyak that sword. Everyone's obviously confused, wondering why he never said anything before. Samyak explains that Greller isn't a monster, he's in nature. God, that Sung Hyukai minute contract with the girls. Shocked, wondering what exactly he was doing during the time he was gone. But Sonia turns to Griller and asks what brings him here. What brings me here, you idiot? I came to help because you can't handle this yourself, Dan. Going straight for humiliation. Yes, he is. Growler warns them that the enemy is on a completely different level and that they're already worn out. That's why he's here, to give someone some of his other he wants. Sonia, to use this power to stop Dharma from joining today's forces. Sonia has no idea what this big wolf actually wants, but if he's giving out free energy, hand it over. He draws it all in, and right away he feels it. This creature's mana isn't just strong, it's denser, way more concentrated and powerful. Growler just says all right you fools, figure the rest out yourselves and disappears. The group is left a bit shaken, wondering just how strong this Dharma must be, while someone tells them to get ready. There's more coming. No time to sit around talking. His sword is glowing like a lighthouse when two more blood creatures appear. One of them says they'll handle the insects so their master can claim the skies. And suddenly, boom, Toddy shows up and he's devouring his own minions. You know it's bad news. When the boss starts eating his own crew, the creature declares itself the true master of the skies, stomps the ground and says it'll handle this personally, but that it notices the presence of the three musketeers, and realizes this isn't going to be easy. Facing the three nature gods, it mocks them, saying their timing was flawless. Behem comments that it's kind of hard not to notice that war of his, and Growler says he's still hungry. The creature warns them not to get in the way, or all three of them will be devoured. Behem just says he'd like to see him try. The monster grins, saying he could gain decades of time if he defeats them now, but Arthur asks if he really thinks he can win against all three. Immediately, Growler and Beam rush forward, and it's clear this is going to be a brutal fight. Tony prepares himself, but realizes they're trying to stall. Barefoot, fast as lightning, charges straight in from above and slams a massive horn strike into him. The impact explodes, leaving a crater in his chest, and then he gets bitten in the back, being torn apart alive. This is full-on final boss territory. The monster calls them nuts and roars, blasting everyone backward. At that moment, a crack splits open in the sky. The barrier shatters, and our foot looks worried. Realizing dimensional passage has been opened beyond meals, that they're all being sucked in and then they're gone far away in a part of Sichuan province, Tony is thrown backward. Enraged, he fills his mouth with aura and fires and massive green beam, but Beam and Archfoot swoop down from above, saying this time he's the one who's going to die. Slamming him again, the creature is coughing up blood, stunned that this is even. Happening roller charges and neck, saying that today this monster dies. Our foot comes down again, crushing him into the ground, but blue aura surrounds Toady as he says it wasn't supposed to end like this. Somewhere distant, he calls for his father. Then a purple portal opens and pulls everyone in, leaving the battlefield silent once more. Elsewhere, Jihad is panicking that they've all vanished. He searches everywhere in the miniature world, coming through every corner of the forest, but finds no trace of the fight or where they went. Then a giant paw smashes into the ground with brutal force, and the bell rings once again. Gracia runs toward the city, wondering if something happened to the heroes. Apparently two-headed Cerberus-like creature appears the Great Dharma and unleashes a barrage of fire. Grund is frozen. Shock, the thing he feared most, has finally arrived, and now there's not much he can do. His creatures are gone. It's up to someone to handle this. She just prays that he's careful. The attack gets closer. Someone downs a potion, and Tank Gamer stepped forward to block the hit. He apologizes for not doing much before, but says that now they can count on him. At the same time, Sonyev leaps forward, sliding under the attack, slashing straight into the monster mid-strike, aiming to land a clean hit. The monster tanks the blow and says, "Impressive attack. I didn't expect to see a technique like that." So there really is someone in this world connected to that foolish knight. Some you wonders if this Bacchae is talking about Legion. Looks like the monster has already been given a name. Sonic snaps back that it's none of his business, but Dharma starts charging. The massive barrage, saying the arrogant human will be annihilated along with everything else. He unleashes an annihilation blast while Sunyak tosses his sword into the air, channeling light and sending another slash tray toward him. Dharma just laughs, mocking him, saying there's no way something like that would stop him. Then one of Dharma's massive paws slams into the ground, shattering everything around, and another pause rings from the side, and oh man, it looks like it hit dead on Sanyukta. Sent flying, completely wrecked. Jihad is worried sick, and Sonic is coughing up blood. Then we see a flashback, some here thinking that at least now you can finally use a few moves. He's learned. You never thought the kid would reach this level. Someone is begging to learn the third form of, and Might refuses, saying the third form requires far more. Either Sonya gaskets, what if features forces this second form? He doesn't care. He's ready to risk it, but the voice warns it's madness. It could consume his body completely. Back to the present, some yuccas overflowing the Growler's mana, and even Dharma looks startled. He immediately recognizes the energy of the wolf god appearing above Jiha. The creature moors in disbelief, saying it's impossible that someone shouldn't have that. But by then the strike is already on its way. Some of your charges forward rollers, energy flowing to the tip of his blade, remembering the knight's words that if the chance ever came, he might be able to pull this off, even if only once. With a smile, he prepares to unleash the blade. Storm second for him. The monster crashes to the ground, his massive sword falls with him, and a crater opens beneath him. As he drops to his knees, utterly defeated, the great Dharma has been slain. The terror drones, as adorable as ever, start firing off little fireworks in celebration. She cheers, saying there's still work to do. He immediately orders everyone to help rebuild the shattered barrier that have been sealing the creature. When it's done, he sighs. Hard work, but necessary. Calls himself a shameless capitalist for it. But then he hears him. Familiar noises and sees a mist approaching from the forest. His eyes light up when he sees the three powerhouses returning. He's all smiles as they rush in and start licking him, and the day ends with the creatures resting peacefully around him. As always, he stretches, saying life is just too good, hoping the peace never ends. "Ah, there it is," he said. "The one thing you're never supposed to say in a story like this." But now he's thoughtful. He wants to help even more. His creatures are starting to struggle. He gives him a potion to help him recover, remembering how back when he first tried this, they just run away from him. But after bribing them with food, finally started listening. While Beam is smacking Growler playfully, Gia feels relieved. At least everyone is safe. He just hopes that all recover soon. Far away, everyone is celebrating. Army's defeat, but every reporter caught someone on camera fighting with his aura blazing. Wolf power on full display. Because of that, a secret conference is held in South Korea. A man in a suit explains that the demagogues were transported from Vienna to China. No one knows exactly why. They suspect some kind of energy collision, but obviously there are no clear answers yet. Another question they have is why the dungeon appeared in South Korea at all. The president asks if all the marks were from the battle, and the suited man confirms those mountain-shaking explosions were all part of this. The gray-haired official explains that several Chinese planes were shot down before they could even observe the fight, and he's sure that whatever was there wasn't destroyed because now the single man of stone was left behind. The president, seeing that there were more questions than answers, decides to close the case and orders everyone to clear the room. She then asks someone named Ashley what the United States' position is on this fight. The blonde, all businesslike, says their assessment is the same. They also have no clue about the dungeon. They have no idea why that giant wolf appeared or why the multi-headed creature showed up. Everyone was on edge as she adds that she has one more piece of information to share. Apparently all this single-numbered knights have seen that wolf. I don't fully get it either, but sue me, will they now know that the wolf is a type of mature god who has been protecting them? The president then wants to know what exactly happened in that battle against the disaster-class monsters. Ashley explains that any disaster-class monster can't be defeated without military assistance, but the proud Koreans say their hunters managed to do it. Anyway, well, obviously someone's out there, hemming out buffs left and right. The man with gray hair even admits it. They only succeeded because they had help from the owner of that shop, the one who provided countless scrolls and insanely effective potions. One person immediately says that whoever this kid is, they need to protect him. With all the attention he's drawing, evil will surely target him sooner or later. The president slams his hand on the table, says he's made an important decision. The gray-haired man is sure now they're going to want to protect the shop owner. He turns and says they now need to prepare for the monster's return. Ashley, meanwhile, has lost, and thought she finds this Greytia person very interesting, and wants to know who he really is. Back in the forest, Gry is staring a massive man of boulder in his hand. Likely either that fell from Toddy. He asked Beyond if he knows anything about it. but BMW just lets out a male and points at a tree. Takes the hint, carries the stone over and sets it on the ground. A branch immediately reaches out, grabs it and lifts it into the air. A gust of wind blows through the forest as the tree absorbs all the energy and begins to glow. Gouda is amazed. The tree is growing like crazy. Then he hears the sound of hooves behind him. When he turns around, he sees what looks like a sheep, or maybe a goat with a head almost identical to his own. She asks what it's doing there. The creature doesn't answer, it just opens a portal and steps through. Greta follows right away. They emerge into a room full of books. The little goat walks straight to one and knocks it to the ground, opens it and starts eating the pages. Naturally, like any little god, and needed a name. Greta names it Goatee. Note, plus tie. Clever as always. After naming it, Gia follows as Goatee leads him on a tour through the library. That's when he discovers that the book explaining dungeons and monuments he could create actually came from this place. Suddenly, the terror drones come bouncing in, and they're stealing books too. The little thieves. Jisai yells at them. Hey, you little troublemakers, what are you doing? But he notices something. They look different now. Their shells are a dark green. They seem a bit bigger, and they're glowing faintly. As they grab books, he realizes these must be the world. Trees, terra, drones, and they're all writing something inside the books. Then the little goat hands Jihad a book to read. He opens it and finds the life story of someone named Margarita Listel, who was born 42 years after the world's creation with incredibly detailed information about her life. Gina realizes these creatures have been recording everything that happens in the world. Then 2 more books appear. Good grief. You really have to love reading to get stronger. In this story, it's book after book after book, but Jihad says there's something specific he wants to check. He grabs a book and looks through it. Later, we see him by the tree again. And yes, as definitely known. Not only that, the entire garden seems to have expanded along with it. Suddenly, a sound Jihad had never heard before echoed through the forest, grabbing his attention. A waterfall had appeared nearby, and he's grinning from ear to ear. Meanwhile, the terror drones are busy building what looks like a beehive. They pull a lever on the hive and golden honey begins to flow out, but in this case, it isn't honey, it's ether. Jihad is practically drooling watching it. He notes that the bees aren't attacking the terror drones at all, and then the system pops up, revealing that this is Emperor's honey. Increases vitality is the favorite food of insect-type creatures. The item glows on the page, and Gara is stunned to see that it increases life. He figures that the terror drones must be collecting this to make themselves stronger. He asks them for just a little bit. We can test it, and then carefully stores it in a jar. This would be the perfect item to put in treasure chest. Way better than selling it in the shop and making people even more suspicious. Back in the forest, Jihad is smiling, excited to scatter more worms around and place more treasure chests for hunters to farm. After improving the soil, he also made the lake more diverse with new life. Meanwhile, the news is buzzing. Portals appearing everywhere. Hunters all over the world are discovering that for some mysterious reason, Korea's dungeons give better rewards. Shiho also notices something strange. There always seems to be a shortage of salt in this forest. At first he thought it was just an elf thing, but it really does seem like there's a shortage here. Even Eddie mentions that the strange village they visited also didn't have enough, so Rita asks mentally in that voice of God way if there are any salt stones somewhere they could absorb. The blonde explains that they go have salt because they were driven out of their land and forced to submit to another kingdom's demands. Since salt is a valuable resource in wartime, it's always one of the first things to be seized. Jihad immediately decides to help solve this problem for them. Back in the forest, he opens his book. Search for a solution to the salt shortage. The problem is, it doesn't list the location. After a while, you finally find something hidden in the confusing dialect. He calls over the stylish Terra drone, the one with glasses, and sends him on the search mission. Halfway along the path, the creature passes through a herd of animals and Jiha is a bit surprised. He thought all of these animals had run off during the war. He figures it would be good to round them up somehow. Too bad he doesn't have a herding dog. Right away, he summons Griller, who stands proudly at his side, while Jihad just sits back eating popcorn, startled by how smoothly Griller handles things. Together the two of them round up the herd, and before long the little scout returns. Having found the location with the good crop supply, the creatures say it will take a long time to harvest. All of it until Graya opens his suitcase and tosses out jars of ether. Then he informs Selena that the insects will deliver countless sacks of wheat. Her village. He asked if she knows how to use the equipment for processing wheat. And not just wheat, but also for processing salt and managing livestock. She sings, a bit overwhelmed, and doesn't answer right away, only asking why she's being given so much all of a sudden. Yuhad explains that he'll benefit from this in the long run, so she doesn't need to worry. Soon after, we see the villagers make offerings at the altar for him, which turn into potions right in front of them. Now that's a prayer that pays off. Gryfa fills the book with praises while the villagers celebrate happily. Meanwhile, far away, a man prays in his apartment, asking for salvation for his brothers and sisters. He looks at the book thinking that maybe he doesn't know how to communicate. Floor dark. He realizes he needs someone who can teach him because he can't figure it out alone. The problem is the religious order of Gehenna was destroyed during the war, so there's no one left with that knowledge. He has no idea where to direct his faith anymore, until a mysterious voice tells him to follow the desires of his heart. While that's simple enough, the moment he hears it, he stands up, straps on his armor and heads. Straight out, he decides to keep hunting until he eventually finds the answers he's looking for. Meanwhile, Dialcom is deep in the forest, holding the line, slaying monsters left and right. That huntress with the little blue tattoo on her face comments that everything's been way too easy lately, all thanks to him. Then one of them glances up and sees a terror drone flying overhead, wondering if it just passed through the dungeon's invisible barrier without a problem. Someone else suggests that since they have enough time, maybe they should follow it and see what happens. Psychom seems startled, right in front of them as a stone archway that shouldn't even exist there. The group looks around and sees strange houses, signs of some kind of civilization, and there are people casually talking nearby. The terror drones, though, look completely worn out, working themselves to exhaustion. To farm the shield bearer, can't understand what's going on. Since when do terror drones know how to run a farm? He decides to get closer to investigate, but before he can approach, someone shouts at him to stop. A squad of guards appears, staying. There are intruders in the area. One of them orders the others to alert the prince and the oracle, and to hide all the terror drones. But the terror drones are just standing there, in full view of not moving, looking just as confused as everyone else. The hunters are puzzled too, wondering if the townsfolk are actually afraid of them. Deercum comments that they look like refugees hiding here, so it makes sense they be wary. At that moment, a figure approaches Selena, looking radiant with a warm smile. Immediately, the guys notice, wait a second, this girl looks exactly like the one from the statues that Eddie appears, glowing as well, looking like he just walked out of a romance novel. The hunters are awestruck by his beauty. Come on guys, focus, look at Selena. At that moment, someone realizes this might be where Sonya spent some time and asks if they know him. Eddie confirms, saying Hand lived there for a few years before leaving. Demayan had already heard something about this because Han left some notes behind after returning from this place. Deacon then quietly says the names. It didn't school in Oracle, Selena. Both of them are startled that he knows who they are. He must have some connection to Sunyak too, and he nods, saying they are hunters from another world. Then suddenly, he kneels and asks them to take good care of his group. Then he personally kneels and asks the saint to bless him with knowledge of Lord Ark. She asks, what is it you want to learn, full, and he answers everything. Saint, tell us everything. He explains that on Earth, there aren't many materials to study about the Lord and they have no way to learn about him. Selena says that it seems he's a follower who needs to be initiated. She gives him a necklace, telling him she hopes he'll trust and love the God Ark. He's overjoyed and thanks her from the bottom of his heart. After that, the hunter spent some time talking with the villagers about the village, about Han, and eventually they leave. The paladin ways goodbye smiling. Ever speak with Ham later and tell him all about this. Sometime later, Ji is back at his shop when the paladin walks in, placing the book and necklace down. He explains that he received them from the oracle, and that she accepted his faith. Jihad is happy for him, knowing how badly he wanted this, and reveals that the item is a holy artifact, a step toward becoming an apostle. The man looks a little lost, asking what exactly an apostle is. Our protagonist jokes they're like Jehovah's Witnesses. You go door to door preaching to everyone. The man laughs, thanks Jihad for helping him, and leaves. Then we're back in the forest, where Jihad notices that the poor little king of the creatures looks completely exhausted. Concerned, he asks what happened, and then the Terradrome cheeks puffed out. Spit something out. A Terra seed. The system explains that this is his seed that absorbs either to make the soil more fertile. She defines it strange that this thing came out of the queen's mouth, but decides to just let it slide. Then the little creature starts tossing things onto the ground, drawing weird patterns. Genova says that it looks like a lotus flower, a beehive, and some kind of box like a jelly jar or something. No idea how he figured that out. The guy must be reading the creature's mind at this point, but he knows that this combination will speed up growth. And sure enough, it's ready. A jar full of golden jelly. One of the insect creatures shows up with a little pot, adds a few crystals, pours the golden jelly over it, and a tiny sprout pops up right away. Gray is immediately excited. This would make spreading go through the forest way easier. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, the hunters seem to have found a very small treasure chest this time. What, you thought you'd get 5 huge chests full of loot every single run? Greedy McShine? But the price was 10 essences, which fell expensive. So the blonde decides to pay anyway, just to see what's inside. When she opens it, it's just a seed. She's annoying, saying they must be joking. Her friend points out that the system says it seems to be something that accelerates growth, so it might actually be worth something. Sonia looks nervous about planting it, but the leader tells her to relax. There's no way it would be a trap if it's a reward. Soon TV reports start airing saying a reporter has been buying up these seeds, apparently because they speed up the growth of all plants in the area where they're planted. Back with our hero. Things are getting pretty hot. He's feeding spicy food to the redhead, and she leans in, taking a bite. She says the texture is amazing, but then asks what he thinks about these seeds that have been appearing. She smiles and says they seem like a good thing, while secretly thinking that it was his whole plan all along. He put those seeds in the dungeons of hunters, could find them, create new items and grow new plants. Then Wan admits that her guild has been getting offers to move and get citizenship in Japan. She asks what life is like over there, and she says it's actually much harder than here. It's full of monsters and earthquakes. Then she gently touches his face, teasing, and says of course she's not going to Japan, otherwise she wouldn't be able to visit him. She almost loses it. This girl just keeps confessing to him. He smiles, and she turns bright red. Strangely, Garya doesn't do anything. He just laughs, and the laugh is so warm that now she's the one flustered. Right then, Giant's creatures start getting hungry, a bird's outside, so he puts food out and all the little gluttons rush in. Wayne asks her something's wrong, but he tells her it's fine, and that she can stay. Later in the forest, he remembers hearing a strange noise before that demigod appeared. He realizes the sound was coming from the bird sitting up in the world. Bean bolts forward, ready to attack. The poor bird is startled, and Beyond is yelling that he swore he killed this thing if it ever came back, but it seems Bean can't climb that high. He hurts his paw and falls back down. She got laughs be him is way worse at climbing than he expected. And since Jeffto always has to name things, he names this bird Ready at that moment. Little red feathers. All in the bird lands on his shoulder, smiling, stating that they're now friends. Behim gives up the chase and sulks a bit off to the side. Gina then notices that this bird can distinguish between different seeds and store them somehow. Even stranger, it seems like the bird can open a kind of portal that he can go through, and inside is a huge pile of seeds. That the bird has been saving, it finally gives Jerry enough seeds. Store and use. A few days later, back home, John's online looking up information about seed storage warehouses. He finds out that these facilities were designed as a contingency plan in case an apocalypse ever hit Earth, a way for humanity to rebuild. He also learns about something called the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, and discovers that this place is about to shut down. She thinks it would be a great idea. Store the seeds he's collected and Reddy's portal like his own private vault. The only problem? Stolberg is way up north, and not exactly easy to reach. It would cost a fortune and take ages to get there from Korea. Meanwhile, his little creatures are huddled together, seemingly discussing something and staring at a map. Suddenly Reddy tugs on Graya's hair. She is startled, asking what the heck this bird doing. Wait, did it just talk? Reddy smiles and says yes. Jay asks where they're supposed to go. Reddy just tells him to come outside. When Jesus steps out, Reddy transforms into a massive phoenix and tells them to hop on. Jiva still wants to know where they're going, and of course Reddy tells him they're headed to Starboard. She had pictures the place and says it's insane. Does Reddy even know where that is? The phoenix here spreads his wings and says, obviously, now get on. She climbs onto his back, not like he has much choice anyway, and at least the bird looks confident. As soon as Gio grabs onto the feathers, Reddy blasts off at full speed. They soar through the sky, and Gio realizes the phoenix seems to be shielding him with a warm aura, keeping him comfortable. Before long, he's already seeing the icy mountains in the distance. He quickly downs a potion to help withstand the cold before they land. When Reddy touches down, Graya thanks him. And to make it even better, the terror drones are already arriving as well. Give It immediately sets about preparing containers to collect every single seed they can find,